Chapter 2378. His big round eyes are filled with anxiety, and he keeps calling out to Mayan. It's just that the sound of the refining god abyss below is too loud, covering its voice. Seeing the 5 elements whip coiled around Mayan, the little chick is both hateful and afraid. It's this thing that's hurting mommy. Huang Huang hates it. The little chick suddenly becomes bold, using its sharp beak to fiercely peck at the 5 elements whipped twice. As a result, goo, 2 bubbles of tears instantly appear in its round eyes. Whoa, it hurts too much. This thing is so hard. Huang Huang can't peck it. Lung Yuexia feels that the 5 elements whip has completely wrapped around Mayan's body. Chuckling, she is about to pull her up and leave this frightening, refining god abyss. However, suddenly, she hears a slight thumping sound. Lung Yuexia subconsciously looks up and sees a huge rock falling straight down from the cliff. That rock should have fallen because of the battle between her and Mayan just now, causing the cliff to collapse. Lung Yuexia subconsciously moves sideways to make way. Her mind still hasn't realized what's happening. She hears a loud plop sound as a small mountain of rubble smashes into the refining god abyss, splashing up monstrous black waves. Aya! Lung Yuexia screams. No longer caring about Mayan, she lets go and quickly escapes. In the blink of an eye, she has already escaped to the top of the cliff. She looks down and sees that the parts of her body that have been splashed by the black water of the refining god abyss have long been badly mutilated. In several places, all the flesh has been corroded, revealing the eerie white bones. Extreme pain and fear make Lung Yuexia unable to stop trembling and moaning. She grits her teeth and looks down, only to see the billowing black water below. There's no sign of Mayan. Damn it! Bastard! Slut! Letting her die so easily. There's also the Tian Mo Qin, a treasure that's even more powerful than a sacred object, and she didn't get it. Lung Yuexia ruthlessly lashes the whip on the cliff, gnashing her teeth and cursing. This action pulls at her wound, causing her face to twist in pain. Just at this time, the cliff under her feet once again makes a cracking sound, as if it's going to fall again. Lung Yuexia is scared out of her wits. She no longer cares about Mayan or Tian Mo Qin. She turns around and flies away. In any case, she has already eliminated this remnant of the Shun musicians. There's no more Jun Mayan in this world. Then, she can also use Lung Qingwan's strategy of stealing the sky and swapping the sun. What is the Tian Mo Qin? What about the Shun musicians? As long as she could obtain the polar domain, all the glory, splendor, wealth, and immortal blessings would belong to her. Lung Yuexia. The pitter-patter of rain did not stop. The black water in the god-refining abyss continued to surge. To cultivators, this place was as terrifying as a mountain of knives and a sea of fire. If it was possible, no living creature would want to get close to this place. Hence, no one discovered that there was a small hole on the cliff below the god-refining abyss. The deep end of the cave was connected to a spacious cave. At this moment, a small red head was poking out of the small hole. It looked around and carefully observed the top of the cliff. Little Phoenix happily said, "That old woman seems to have really left." Chirp, chirp, chirp. Little Inghua also clucked twice. Soon after, the 2 little ones immediately returned to Mayan's side. When he saw Mayan's current appearance, Little Phoenix's tears immediately flowed down. Chapter 2379. There's a lot of blood on pretty Jejia. She's not dead, is she? Boo-hoo-hoo, I don't want pretty Jejia to die. If pretty Jejia dies, little brother will be so sad. Shut up, stupid bird. A low voice coldly rings out. There's a youngster in red clothes in the cave, glaring fiercely at the crying little Phoenix and little yellow chick. Even if all of you die, Jun Mayan won't die. If you dare to say the word dive again, I'll skin you all and roast you. The 2 little ones immediately huddle together, shivering, and look at the great demon king in fear. But pretty Jejia's injuries are really serious. How about I carry pretty Jejia to the Xiao Yao sect? Maybe the most beautiful junior master can save her. The veins on Qi Huang's forehead fiercely jump, and he grits his teeth. You mean, if I can't save Junmayan, I still need that pretty boy to save her? Idiot bird, are you tired of living? Who? Little Phoenix shivers, not daring to speak anymore. However, when the arrogant and overbearing Qi Huang turns to look at Mayan, he's filled with irritation and worry. Perhaps he doesn't even realize that he's distressed. Mayan's injuries are really too serious. In addition to the injuries caused by Lung Yuexia, the black water of the refining god abyss has almost corroded most of her back. But the most serious is the consumption of her divine soul by the move, indiscriminate destruction. If she was at her peak, she might be able to hold on. But now, Qi Huang shakily stretches out his hand and touches Mayan's cheek. He feels a bone-chilling cold, so cold that his heart seems to be tightly clenched by something, and it's dragging him down a little. Junmayan, I won't let you die. He grits his teeth and spits out hoarsely. He slowly closes his eyes and is about to move. Suddenly, the void spirit ring on Mayan's finger emits a faint light once again. Just like when she was fighting with Lung Yuexia, the light once again invades Mayan's body, soaking through her flesh and bones. Mayan's injuries haven't healed, and she's not awake. However, a moment later, her entire spine suddenly emitted a faint jade-colored light. The next moment, a huge bright silver moon emerges from Mu Yan's body. Qi Huang's pupils constricted. He stopped what he was doing and murmured, "Immortal bones, she really has grown immortal bones." Xiaoxian continent. In the small world filled with boundless immortal energy, Han Yi and defeating armies, leading dozens of subordinates of the Falling Moon tribe and the Ghost-Slaying tribe, are quietly waiting. The people of the Ghost-Killing division were similar to defeating armies. Most of them were silent. The subordinates of the Crescent Moon tribe, on the other hand, were like Han Yi. At this time, they had been waiting for a long time and couldn't help but whisper to each other. The immortal energy in this small world is really too pure and thick. We've only been standing here for 2 hours, but it's already comparable to cultivating for a day outside. I heard that this place was personally built by the Sovereign Emperor. I wonder who it was prepared for? Not to mention the people of the Falling Moon tribe. Even the few taciturn people of the Ghost-Killing tribe couldn't help showing curious and jealous expressions. To have a god monarch personally create a small world. Moreover, they've specially mobilized the elites of the Ghost Murder Division and the Crescent Division, as well as Pajun and Han Yi Daren's personal protection. Who in this world is qualified to receive such an honor? Han Yi turns his head and glances at his subordinates, who are timidly whispering. He chuckles but doesn't say anything. Baidu search the UC Book League website, allowing you to experience the latest and fastest chapters, all of which are updated in seconds. Chapter 2380. Defeating armies' expression didn't change at all. He just lowered his eyes and waited quietly. At this moment, the teleportation array at the entrance of the small world suddenly lit up. A tall figure slowly appeared as the light of the array disappeared. Everyone from the Ghost Killer tribe and Crescent Moon tribe knelt down and bowed. Greetings, Emperor. After paying their respects, everyone who has never had the courage to look directly at Dijun. Still, they can't help but be curious. They secretly use the corners of their eyes to size up Di Mingju's back. They had originally wanted to see what kind of person could make the Sovereign Emperor personally build the small world and have the elites of the Falling Moon tribe and the Ghost Killer tribe protect. However, with a single glance, everyone was dumbfounded, and their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Is this person really their emperor? If he wasn't, then who else in the world could have such a handsome, godlike appearance and such a majestic aura of a monarch descending upon the world? However, if it was a sovereign emperor, why would their sovereign emperor be carrying a child in his arms? No. How could they not know that the celestial emperor, who had always kept himself away from strangers, knew how to carry a child? The only ones who are very calm and collected are Han Yi and defeating armies. After the two pay their respects to Di Mingju, they turn towards Xiao Bao and bow with clasped hands. Greetings, little master. Hiss. Someone sucked in a breath of cold air. Bang! Someone's weapon fell to the ground and hit his foot, but he didn't notice it at all. Wait a minute. Did they have tinnitus just now? Was he hallucinating? What are Han Yi and Pajuandaran calling that baby for? Young master? Could it be that this kid was the emperor's child? This conjecture was too shocking and horrifying. These people don't even care about the reverence they have for Di Mingju. Each and every one of them looks straight at Di Mingju, then at Xiao Bao. The little doll was only about 5 or 6 years old. However, she had an exquisite and beautiful face that made people want to scream. One could imagine how handsome he would be when he grew up. Those big ice blue eyes were practically carved from the same mold as the emperor. Most importantly, this little boy exuded a cold and noble aura. That kind of natural king made people want to submit to him. This sort of dignity and bearing was exactly the same as an imperial monarch. The boy's appearance was actually not similar to the emperor's. Di Mingju's appearance leans towards being robust and graceful. On the other hand, Xiao Bao's appearance was 70% similar to Mu Yan's, so he was somewhat beautiful and elegant. However, the people of the Falling Moon tribe and the Ghost Killer tribe looked back and forth between the two of them, feeling that they were becoming more and more similar. Especially Di Mingju's familiar and matter-of-fact attitude as he carries Xiao Bao. No one could doubt that he was Xiao Bao's biological father. Gulp. Many people could not help but swallow their saliva. The suspicion in his heart grew wildly, like weeds. Could it be that this little kid really has the bloodline of the emperor? Was he really the future young master of the polar domain? But the question is, when did you give birth to an heir outside behind our backs? In the midst of everyone's confusion, Di Mingju loosens his grip and puts Xiao Bao down from his arms. But she still held his little hand and walked slowly to the front of everyone from the Falling Moon tribe and the Ghost Killer tribe. She said coldly, "From now on, he will be the master you will serve and protect, Jun Machin." Jun Machin. Surnamed Jun? Not surnamed Mo? Could it be that they had guessed wrong? Baidu search the UC Book League website, letting you experience the latest and fastest chapters, all of them updated in seconds. Chapter 2381. In the Polar Domain, Di was the only surname of the Polar Domain monarch. In other words, only those who had become the king of the Polar Domain had the qualifications to use the surname Di. And Di Mingju's family is actually surnamed Mo. Just like Mo Rufeng, who had rebelled against his superiors at that time, he was Di Mingju's cousin. And this child's surname is Jun, not Mo. Does this mean that he doesn't have the bloodline of the monarch? However, even though this kid's surname was Jun, his name had the word Mo in it. This made the people of the Falling Moon tribe and the Ghost Killer tribe dizzy. Could it be that the woman was too domineering and forced the young master to take his mother's surname? But could anyone in this world be stronger than their imperial emperor? Di Mingju looks at their silly appearance and slightly narrows his eyes. Didn't you hear what Ben Jun said? Everyone shuddered and hurriedly knelt on the ground. Greetings, young master. Xiao Bao raises his head, looking at Di Mingju. Her icy blue eyes were clear and transparent, without much emotion. But Di Mingju still sees a trace of nervousness in his eyes. Jun Shangdaran, who has never understood how to comfort people, hesitates for a moment, but still reaches out and gently rubs his head. They are here to protect you, to listen to your orders, no need to mind. Xiao Bao's straight little back loosens. He squeezes Di Mingju's hand and softly says, "Xiao Bao understands, Daddy." Daddy. As expected, this little boy is the emperor's son. The people of the Falling Moon tribe and the Ghost Killer tribe screamed in their hearts. Only Han Yi chuckles. He knows the truth, but he won't say it. Let them think that Xiao Bao is Jun Shang's biological son. Because the little master was the most qualified person in this world to become the successor of the Polar Domain and was also worthy of their loyalty. Defeating armies' gaze similarly sweeps over Di Mingju and Xiao Bao, but he tightens his lips. The doubts and thoughts in his eyes were faintly discernible. Di Mingju gives a few simple instructions, then leads Xiao Bao into the depths of the secret territory. Looking at the backs of the two leaving, The Ghost Killer Division members were still able to control themselves and did not talk about their masters behind their backs. The people of Falling Moon Tribe were whispering even more fervently than before. Junmachan, is this really the bloodline of an imperial monarch? But isn't the Celestial Emperor never close to women? Recently, the Emperor frequently went to the Cultivation Continent. I'm guessing that the Emperor, Little Master's mother should be from the Cultivation Continent. This Cultivation Continent? How can such a person be worthy of the Emperor? Isn't the Emperor's decision too hasty? Even if he really is the Emperor's bloodline, isn't it too hasty to directly make him the successor of the Polar Domain? Indeed. The Polar Domain's sovereign emperor is definitely someone with outstanding talent. I wonder what that woman's identity is and how talented is she? But no matter how outstanding she was, she couldn't compare to the immortal fairy of the Xiaoxian continent. This child's talent must have been hindered by his mother. I'm afraid he won't be outstanding. Just wait and see. The trials of this small world were personally set up by the Empyrean Lord. I've checked it out. Even 5th stage false immortals with exceptional aptitude wouldn't be able to pass the first stage even after spending 7 days. This baby will take at least a month. This is only the first trial. There are a total of 9 trials in the pocket dimension, and each one is harder than the last. At the 9th round, even a peak pseudo-immortal would need a year and a half to pass it. Alas, then wouldn't this baby not necessarily be able to get out in 10 years? Don't tell me we have to accompany him in there for 10 years? Hanyi turns his head and coldly glances at the subordinate who just spoke. Baidu search the UC Book League website, letting you experience the latest and fastest chapters, all of which are updated in seconds. Chapter 2382. He noted down every single person who had spoken ill of Xiaobao just now. He was not in a hurry to settle the score. It was better to wait for Little Master to slap their faces first, than teach these gossipers a harsh lesson. It seemed that his control over the Falling Moon Tribe was too lax. Otherwise, why didn't anyone from the Ghost Assassination Division speak nonsense? These people under him didn't even have the slightest bit of insight. How dare they say that the Little Master's talent was mediocre? What's wrong with the immortal fairy from the Xiaoxian continent? How could he compare to that evildoer Miss June? Which immortal fairy could advance to the peak of the Golden Core realm from a mortal with no spirit power in just a year? Moreover, she also possesses the one and only moon's spiritual root that is qualified to match with Junshang? In less than 3 days, the Little Master will definitely slap their faces. He would let them know what was truly amazing. However, Hanyi didn't have to wait for 3 days. Only 24 hours passed. In the center of the small world, a beam of light suddenly shot into the sky and then exploded like fireworks. A portion of the immortal chi in the small world had already been consumed. However, after the fireworks exploded, they were instantly replenished. It was even purer and denser than before. The people of the Falling Moon Tribe stared at the exploding vision as if they had seen a ghost. They couldn't believe what they had just seen. Even the people from the Ghost Killer Division could not help but widen their eyes, revealing a horrified expression. Han Yi and Pajun are shocked at first, then they have an as-expected expression on their faces. The corners of Han Ye's mouth even curl up into a carefree smile. The fireworks in the sky slowly dissipated. The light beside the teleportation array lit up, and a small figure slowly appeared. There was not the slightest bit of expression on his handsome and exquisite little face, but it made people feel fearful and respectful for no reason. Han Yi smiles and greets him. "Little Master, do you need to rest?" Xiao Bao looked around, and a hint of disappointment appeared on his face. "Daddy is not here?" Han Yi promptly says. "There is an urgent matter that needs to be dealt with in the Polar Domain. Junshang will leave first." However, Junshang would receive the news of the Little Master passing the first test at the first moment. I believe that Junshang will definitely be happy for Little Master. Xiao Bao nodded expressionlessly. Her long eyelashes drooped, concealing the emotions in her eyes. Not only did he want his father to know, but he also wanted his mother to know. If Nyangqi knew that he passed, she would definitely hug him and kiss his face. Han Yi and Xiaobao's conversation is light and breezy, but the people of the Falling Moon tribe are in a complete mess. He passed the stage. He actually passed the first test. How was this possible? Wasn't this kid just a fourth stage false immortal? Wasn't she only 5 or 6 years old? How did he manage to pass the first test in just 24 hours? Han Yi takes out an elixir and hands it to Xiaobao. Little master, this elixir was prepared for you by Di Jun. Please take it and cultivate for a period of time, raise your realm, and then try the second test. Xiaobao had no objections. After consuming the medicinal pill, he found a place with dense immortal energy and sat down cross-legged. Han Yi turns to look at the people of the Falling Moon tribe and coldly says, "Everyone of the Falling Moon tribe, listen to my order. After leaving the small world, go to the purgatory pool to receive your punishment for a month. Otherwise, don't ever appear in front of Little Master again." The people of the Falling Moon tribe shivered and hurriedly knelt on the ground. "We are willing to go to the purgatory pool to receive punishment." The purgatory pool was terrifying, but telling them not to appear in front of Little Mistress? What a joke. Little Master's talent was terrifying to such an extent, and he was so doted on by the Celestial Emperor. If they didn't eagerly latch onto his thighs in advance, they would simply be idiots. As Xiaobao is sitting cross-legged in meditation, his body suddenly trembles violently. He abruptly opens his eyes, and his big eyes reveal a panic-stricken emotion. He loudly shouts, "Nyangqin!" Chapter 2383. Little Master, what's wrong? Han Yi is startled and promptly rushes over. But Xiaobao pulls on his sleeve. Mother is injured. She's in great pain. I want to go to the cultivation continent. I want to find my mother. Han Yi is startled, his complexion greatly changing. Miss June is injured? It can't be? If it was just an ordinary injury, the Little Master would definitely not be so flustered. In the Xiaoxin continent, there are very few people who have very special bloodlines. Towards those who were closest to him, or those who were directly related to him by blood, he would have a unique feeling. However, this kind of feeling didn't happen all the time. It would only be triggered when the other party's life was truly in danger. That's why Han Yi isn't surprised by Xiaobao's mother-son connection reaction. However, he found it strange that Miss June was so powerful. In the cultivation continent, how could there be someone who could put her in such a desperate situation so easily? What's more, Miss June has just as this thought crossed his mind, Little Treasure pushed him away and ran toward the teleportation formation. Han Yi jumps in fright and promptly turns his head. Little Master, you can't. However, Little Treasure was extremely fast. At some point, the Bishia's sword was already under his feet. The fat rabbit also jumped out silently and stood beside him to protect him. The people of the Falling Moon tribe and the Ghost Killer tribe subconsciously wanted to stop it, but they didn't expect that the evil warding sword would evade them with its strange movements. Xiaobao was about to rush into the teleportation array. Suddenly, the small body was picked up. Defeating Armies looked at Xiaobao with a cold and indifferent expression, and he said in a low voice, "Young master, the Lord has ordered that you can't leave this small world before passing the first round of the test." Xiaobao struggled with all his might as he glared at Defeating Armies with bloodshot eyes. "Let me go. I'm going to look for Mother." Defeating Armies was stunned by the pair of icy blue eyes that were inches away from him. In that brief moment of hesitation, Little Treasure struck out with his palm. This palm didn't want to injure Defeating Armies, but wisps of precisely controlled immortal power seeped into Defeating Armies' blood vessels. This made him slightly loosen his grip on Lil Bao. As soon as he regained his freedom, Xiaobao immediately ran toward the teleportation array. Defeating Armies, on the other hand, stood there in a daze, clutching the acupuncture point on his body that had been attacked. "Pejuan, what are you doing?" He actually let the Little Master go. Seeing that Xiaobao has already rushed into the transmission array, Han Yi is so frightened that he recklessly pounces over. But the fat rabbit and Bai Xia were faster than him. The rabbit and the sword, who were usually incompatible like water and fire, were now cooperating with each other with great rapport. One sweeps over, tripping Hanye's foot. The other's body suddenly enlarges, directly pouncing on Hanye's face, covering his face. No matter what, he was not allowed to hinder Xiaobao. "Stupid rabbit, Bai Xie, what are you doing?" Jun Shang has ordered. "Little master, roar." The fat rabbit roared angrily. Bai Xie shouted, "I don't care. I only know that this is the order from the young master. Besides, it's natural for a mother and son to be connected by heart. No one has the right to stop them." The light of the teleportation formation grew brighter and brighter, and Xiaobao's figure slowly disappeared. The little hands hanging by her side clenched into fists. "Mother, wait for me. Xiaobao will go back to help you." However, the feeling of weightlessness from the teleportation had yet to arrive. Little Bao was suddenly pulled into a wide embrace and lifted high into the air. Unlike when he was stopped by defeating armies, Xiaobao sensed a familiar aura, and his eyes immediately turned red. Chapter 2384. The panic and grievance in his heart can no longer be suppressed. "Daddy Nyangqin. Xiao Bao wants to save Nyangqin. Xiao Bao doesn't want Nyangqin to die. Don't cry." Deming Ju's voice is low and cold, a bit hoarse. "Mine is fine." "Not at all." The childish voice shouts with a sobbing tone. "I feel it. Nyangqin is in great pain. I want to go to the Xiozhen continent to find Nyangqin." Deming Ju's face suddenly sinks, and he puts him down. "Jun Machin, do you remember what you promised me before coming to the Xiozhen continent? If you don't pass the first round of assessment, you will never leave the small world. If you want to go back now, you can. Ben Jun will take you back. But what can you do for your Nyangqin when you go back? Will you protect her, or become a burden that will put her in more danger?" Xiaobao's complexion turns deathly pale in a split second, and his little body trembles slightly. He grabs Deming Ju's lapel and softly says in a sobbing voice, "Daddy, is Nyangqin really all right?" Xiao Bao will be good and won't leave the small world. Can you go save Nyangqin?" Deming Ju clenches his hands hanging by his side and slowly crouches down to wipe the tears off his face. "Don't cry. Mine has passed through the crisis of life and death and advanced to the nascent soul stage. She's completely fine and even more powerful than before." Xiao Bao jerks his head up, his teary eyes looking at Deming Ju. "Really? Nyangqin is really all right?" "Deming Ju, if you don't believe me, you can feel it yourself." Xiao Bao stares blankly, and he touches his chest with his little hand. That kind of piercing fear and dread really disappears. His big eyes brighten up. "Nyangqin is all right. She also advanced and is even more powerful than before?" Deming Ju nods. "Now, do you still want to leave the small world and return to the Xiozhen continent?" Xiao Bao solemnly shakes his head, his little hands clenching into fists. "Daddy, Xiao Bao won't go back. Nyangqin is so powerful, Xiao Bao must also become more powerful and not drag Nyangqin down." Saying that, he runs to the immortal medicine room on the side, sits down cross-legged, and begins cultivating. Bai Xie and the fat rabbit see this, and they no longer bother Han Yi, and obediently return to Xiao Bao's space. Deming Ju calmly looks at the little figure inside the immortal medicine, a touch of gentleness flashing through his eyes. The simulated sunlight in the small world fell on his body, but it reflected his slightly pale face. "Jun Shang." Han Yi says nervously, "Are you okay? Miss Jun, are you going to—" Deming Ju waves his hand, faintly saying, "Look after Xiao Bao. If there's anything, inform Ben Jun." "Understood." Deming Ju's figure slowly disappears. After a long time, Lil Treasure opened his eyes and looked at the empty teleportation formation, and a depressed expression appeared on his little face. The fat rabbit burrowed into his arms and gently rubbed against him. The Bixia sword also buzzed twice and stuck close to his body. Xiao Bao muttered in a low voice, "Xiao Bao is completely useless. But doesn't Daddy care about Mommy?" "Little Master, you're wrong." Han Ye's voice suddenly comes from not too far away. Junshang isn't going to the Xiozhen continent to see Miss June because the Netherworld Realm and the Devil Realm have suddenly assembled a large army, stopping at the border of the Polar Domain. As the ruler of the Polar Domain, Junshang is unable to disregard the lives and deaths of the millions of people in the Polar Domain and only care about himself. This is the honor and responsibility that cannot be avoided as the ruler of the Polar Domain. Chapter 2385. Whether it was the current emperor or the future little master, it was the same. Xiao Bao looks up, blankly staring at Han Yi. Han Yi continues, "Before, Di Jun had the Star Wolf stay by Miss June and the little master's side to protect you. But later on, he realized that without experiencing desperate battles, there's no way to truly grow and become strong. So, no matter how worried and afraid he was, Junshang still withdrew the people he had arranged around Miss June." Xiao Bao opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but no sound came out. Han Yi seems to know what he wants to say. He softly says with a slightly hoarse voice, "But in this world, the one who is most worried about Miss June's safety, the one who wants to protect her, is Junshang. How could he allow Miss June to die in a place where he couldn't see? That's why my lord made the Void Spirit Ring." "Young master, do you know what a Void Spirit Ring is?" Xiao Bao asked subconsciously. "What is it?" "I will use my spirit to guide your soul. I will use my divine essence to nourish your life force." Han Yi enunciates each word. When Miss June encounters a life-threatening crisis, Junshang will transfer his divine essence to Miss June through the Void Spirit Ring. Divine essence is not immortal energy, nor is it divine energy. That is Lord's cultivation and divine soul. Every time he passes to Miss June, he will become weaker. At this critical moment when we are confronting the Nether region and the Demon region, do you know what this weakness means? Xiao Bao's body suddenly trembled, his back straightened, and his hands clenched into fists. Han Yi chuckles, walks in front of Xiao Bao, and rubs his head. "Therefore, don't doubt Junshang's feelings for your Nyangqin. In this world, no one loves your mother more than the God Emperor." Xiao Bao's eyes immediately turned red. There was shame, sadness, happiness, and gratitude. He nods heavily and says in a hoarse voice, "I know. Thank you, Uncle Han Yi." After a pause, Xiao Bao shyly lowered his eyes and said in a low voice, You tell Daddy that in the whole world, Xiao Bao loves Mother and Daddy the most." Han Yi stares blankly, then his heart crumples into a ball. How could his little master be so adorable? He wanted nothing more than to hug her and rub her face. But Xiao Bao didn't give him the time to be moved. He immediately stepped onto the warding off evil and rushed towards the examination field. Daddy and Mommy are both so powerful. That's great. Xiao Bao definitely can't fall behind. Xiao Bao was just about to rush into the test field's barrier when a deep male voice suddenly came from behind him. "Little master." Little Bao turned around and looked at the cold man who was floating in the air nearby. He knew that this person was also his father's trusted aide, Uncle Pajuan. But unlike Star Wolf, Ing Mei, and Han Yi, Xiao Bao has never seen him before. Defeating armies stared at Xiao Bao for a long time, and the doubt in his eyes grew heavier and heavier. After a long time, he said softly, "Little master, can this subordinate ask you 2 questions?" Xiao Bao nodded. Defeating armies. "Little master, how old are you this year? When is your birthday?" Xiao Bao tilted his head in confusion, but still told him his age and birthday. Hearing his answer, Defeating Armies' pupils suddenly shrank. His hands gripped the hilt of the saber tightly. Isn't this too much of a coincidence? Defeating Armies steadied his mind and opens his mouth again, his voice becoming more and more husky. "Little master, have you ever met your biological father?" Baidu search, UC Book League, website, let you experience the latest and fastest chapters. All updates in seconds. Chapter 2386. Perfect Nascent Soul Formation. Asking for votes. Xiao Bao frowned, and then unhesitatingly said, "I don't have a father." Xiao Bao only has a father. Only Daddy. He emphasized once more, then quickly turned around and disappeared into the enchantment. Xiaobao did not like this question at all. He did not have a biological father. He only has one father, and that is Dimingju. Looking at Xiaobao's back disappearing into the barrier, Defeating Armies was in a trance for a moment. He muttered to himself, "Is there really such a coincidence in this world? No, that's impossible." However, a certain thought was like maggots in a tarsal bone, crazily spiraling and growing in his mind. He needed to check this out. However, he can't ask Jun Shang. He can't even let Jun Shang know. He could only investigate in secret. Defeating Armies glanced at the small world and then shook his head. No, not now. The Little Master was here, and he was ordered by Jun Shang to protect the Little Master. He couldn't leave yet. Moreover, compared to before, he couldn't allow his Little Master to be harmed in the slightest. As for the investigation, he could only wait until Little Master passed the first round. The sound of surging water rang in his ears continuously. Accompanying it were the intermittent cries of the little phoenix and the cries of the little chick. Muyan couldn't help but slowly open her eyes. "Beautiful sister, you're finally awake." "Gg. Mama woke up." Mayan stares blankly for a good while before her thoughts slowly return. She seems to have been assassinated by a crazy woman from the Xiaoxian continent. This woman's cultivation is even higher than Qin Peng's. Mu Yan exerts all his strength, but still can't do anything to her. In the end, he could only use his self-created, indiscriminate destruction sword move to drag her into the god-refining abyss. At that time, Mu Yan only felt that her internal organs were almost completely shattered. Even his dantian, which stored his spiritual power, was destroyed by the backlash of the indiscriminate destruction. She thought she was dead for sure? But now, Mayan subconsciously revolves her spiritual power, then she suddenly widens her eyes and blurts out, "What's going on?" Not only did she not die, she even advanced to the first level of nascent soul. Moreover, it was an extremely perfect nascent soul. Because he had successfully formed his nascent soul, his moon's spiritual root had given birth to a fourth attribute, Earth. But none of these were the reasons for Mu Yan's loss of composure. What is there to be surprised about? Isn't it just the immortal bone? Qi Huang's cold voice suddenly sounded from the side. Moreover, you've only honed one spine in total, and it's not a complete immortal bone. The amount of immortal energy you can nurture every day is at most one cycle. In my eyes, you're just barely qualified. As soon as Qi Huang finished speaking, Little Phoenix and Little Chick looked at each other and saw the surprise in each other's eyes. That's not right. When the demon saw the immortal bone, he was obviously shocked. He looked at his beautiful sister as if he was looking at a peerless genius. Why did he say that it was barely qualified with disdain? It was too incomprehensible. How could the two innocent little fellows know that there was a kind of person in this world who is arrogant and disdainful? Mayan, on the other hand, has a deep understanding of Qi Huang's nature, but at this time, she herself is also a little confused. Therefore, he did not refute, but stared blankly at Qi Huang. Immortal bone? I really formed a perfect nascent soul, and even gave birth to an immortal bone? Suddenly, she thought of something. When I advanced, there wasn't any commotion, right? Suddenly, she thought of something. When I advanced, there wasn't any commotion, right? Did you feel very romantic? Did you feel touched by Jun Shang? Vote for our Jun Shang, Darren, who is bursting with boyfriend power. Chapter 2387. While she's still in a daze, Little Phoenix and Little Yahui are chattering in her ear about what happened after she fainted. So Mu Yan knows that the crazy woman who chased her isn't dead. And every time she advances, the moon's spirit root will make a big commotion. She's afraid of attracting that woman's attention, and it would be terrible if she came back to kill her. Qi Huang glances at the ring on her hand and reluctantly says, "Don't worry. All the movements are limited to your body. The power inside the ring on your hand is extremely powerful. The movements of the perfect nascent soul and the advancement of the moon's spirit root have been suppressed. Muyan looks down at the void spirit ring on her hand. Her other hand gently strokes it, and her face shows a gentle expression. At the moment of life and death just now, she felt that the void spirit ring had transferred energy to her several times. It allowed her to come back from death's door, and even helped her advance. Deming-ju, thank you. Muyan murmurs softly. She knows that Deming-ju must pay a price for transferring such a heaven-defying energy to her. She won't tell Deming-ju not to do this, because she knows how torturous it is to worry about the safety of one's beloved. She will only love this man more than before. Then, she will strive to become stronger, and one day, she will be able to stand by his side. After her mood stabilizes, Muyan's attention begins to shift to this time's advancement. In fact, as early as the last time she fought against Qin Prung, Muyan had already stepped into the nascent soul stage. Therefore, after this advancement, her strength did not improve much. What really surprised her was the formation of the immortal bone. Muyan now uses her divine sense to explore her body, and she can clearly see that among the bones in her whole body, only her spine is different from the rest. It presents a strange scene of gold and silver, and a bit of jade light. Originally, when she operated her dantian, she could only feel and capture the spiritual power and very little mysterious power in the air. But now, she discovered that in addition to spiritual power and mysterious power, there are also traces of a very strange energy in the surrounding air. That is, immortal energy. But compared to the already small amount of internal force, immortal energy is even more pitifully scarce. Muyan tried to absorb immortal energy, but after half an hour, not even a small half of her dantian was filled. However, there was one very strange thing. Other martial artists, cultivators, and immortals could only store one type of energy in their dantian. But now, her dantian was divided into 3 independent yet faintly layered spaces. The Sea of Qi stored Qi. The Spirit Watchtower stored Spirit Qi. The Origin Gate stored Immortal Qi. The 3 acupoints near the dantian formed 3 completely independent spaces. In other words, he had formed 3 dantians. His celestial qi and spiritual qi were already full. Although his celestial qi was not full, his divine sense could sense the vastness of this space. Even Muyan herself couldn't help but be shocked. It was one thing for the moon's spirit root physique to be able to contain and gather various types of energy. But wouldn't it be too exaggerated to form 3 dantians? Ever since she came to the Xiozhen continent, Muyan could be considered to have read a lot of ancient books and records, but she had never heard of anyone who was in the same situation as her. Even if it was the moon's spiritual root, since there were rumors about it, it meant that someone once possessed it. However, the moon's spiritual root recorded in the ancient books of the Xiozhen continent wasn't that exaggerated, right? Qi Huang's indifferent voice suddenly sounded in his ears. Because you not only have the moon's spiritual root, but also the purest, immaculate body in the world. What's so great about being able to form 3 dantians? Chapter 2388. Suddenly, his voice paused for a moment. Then, as if he was talking in his sleep, he said softly, moreover, it's not as if the immaculate body has never appeared in this world. Although that person didn't have a moon's spiritual root, he still formed a Dan and 2 Cs, and could simultaneously circulate boundless spiritual power and immortal power. Muyan asked curiously, who is this person you're talking about? Qi Huang's long eyelashes drooped. His tone carried some indifference as he said, Bailey Luin. Bailey Luin? The founder of the Kamikaze sect, the owner of the Tian Mo Qin, who was the first person in the world to see Qi Huang. The interesting woman from a different time and space? Mine can't help but feel a bit of curiosity and admiration towards this legendary Shin musician. But she quickly put this matter to the back of her mind. The formation of the immortal bone allowed her to finally achieve what she had always wanted to try. That is the advancement of the Shun musician level. 1 cycle of dark energy, 1 cycle of spiritual energy, and 1 cycle of immortal energy could fuse into 1 cycle of divine energy. Dark force and spiritual power were easy. Mayan had to expend a Herculean effort to circulate the immortal power 12 times. In accordance with the guidance of the Shun musician inheritance in her mind, Mu Yan slowly guides the three energies in her dantian to fuse. Gray, blue, and red orbs of light flowed out of her body and floated in midair, slowly rotating. Under the guidance of his divine sense, they gradually fused and finally formed a translucent silver ball of light. Mu Yan suddenly opened her eyes, her burning gaze staring at the silver ball. Is this divine power? What powerful energy! She could clearly sense how powerful the energy contained in the ball of light was. It could be said that if she were to use this ball of light to smash a leaving aperture realm cultivator, even if he was at leaving aperture realm pinnacle, he would be engulfed by the energy and reduced to ashes. Mu Yan could not help but swallow his saliva. If she could use her divine power to fight in the future, wouldn't she be invincible? Stop dreaming. Qi Huang rolls his eyes, looking at her like he's looking at an idiot. Don't tell me you haven't discovered that apart from pouring this divine power into the Tian Mo Qin, you have no way of controlling it, nor can you store it. Mu Yan's expression stiffens. She tries to touch the silver ball with her divine sense, and her complexion immediately changes. Not to mention manipulating the divine power, her divine sense was immediately repelled the moment she touched it. That ball of light also seems to be pulled by something, and with a whoosh, it submerges into the Tian Mo Qin. Qi Huang looked at Mu Yan's disappointed expression and gloated. What do you think God power is? Even in the Xiaoxian continent, do you know how many people have divine power? Among the group of lackeys around Dimingju, there aren't even 2 who can cultivate divine power. You, a puny nascent soul cultivator, want to control divine power? Jun Mayan, why don't you go to heaven? Mayan expressionlessly takes the Tian Mo Qin, wanting to use the divine power inside to nourish herself and upgrade her Shun musician skills. In the end, 10 cycles of divine power to light up 1 star of a skill? Mu Yan said in disbelief. After a Shun musician rises to the 7th level, because there are too many skills. Perhaps they were afraid that the inheritor would bite off more than he could chew, so after level 7, all the skills would not be upgraded at the same time. Instead, it was up to the inheritor to choose the path to become stronger after lighting up the skill star. 10 wheels of divine power could light up a 1-star skill. 100 wheels of divine power could light up a 2-star skill. 1,000 wheels of divine power could light up a 3-star skill. So on and so forth. Right now, Mu Yan has mastered a total of more than 20 Shun musician skills. In theory, if she wants to light up all the 1-star skills, she would need more than 200 wheels of divine power. Chapter 2389. If she wants to light up all the 3-star skills, she needs at least 20,000 rounds of divine power. But because her immortal bones are incomplete, Mayan can only produce 1 round of immortal power a day at most. In other words, even if she doesn't convert divine power for a day, it will take 10 days to light up 1 star of a skill. In contrast, it will take 1,000 days, more than 3 years, to light up the 3 stars of a single skill. Coming to this conclusion, Mayan almost faints. Then how can she upgrade her Shun musician skills in the future? It's impossible. Hearing her crumbling question, Qi Huang sneers. I say, Jun Mayan, are you stupid? Now you can only produce 1 round of immortal power a day, because your cultivation is too low and your immortal bones are incomplete, but will you always be like this? Mayan's eyes brighten. What do you mean? Qi Huang gives her a blank look. When you reach the leaving body stage, the speed of converting divine power will be 10 times faster than it is now. Why do you think your divine power conversion speed is so slow now? It's because your body is too weak and your cultivation is too low. Even if you can produce 2 rounds of immortal power, you can't withstand the fusion of more divine power. Mayan breathes a sigh of relief. It's good that there is a way to speed up. Otherwise, she really can't count on the Shun musician skills in the future. She sinks her divine sense into the Shun musician inheritance and suddenly says, in addition to divine power, there are also non-attribute substances that can upgrade the Shun musician skills? What are non-attribute substances? Qi Huang says with little interest, metal, wood, water, fire, and earth are the 5 elements. Most things in the world can't escape the 5 elements or their variations. Things that aren't in the 5 elements are non-attribute substances. However, don't hold too much hope. There are very few non-attribute substances in the world. Ordinary people who cultivate for a lifetime may not even hear of them, let alone see them. Since even Qi Huang says there are few, Mayan no longer entangles herself and throws this hint to the back of her mind. While studying, she sends Little Phoenix, Little Yellow Chick, and Qi Huang into the space. She walks out of the cave and jumps up to the cliff. More than half of the cliff above the refining god abyss has collapsed, which shows the intensity of her battle with the crazy woman. But now it's empty. Mayan looks around, takes out the 7 absolute sword, and is about to return to the Xiaorao sect. Suddenly, Qi Huang's disdainful voice echoed in his mind. TSK, he's haunting me. Why is he here again? Shameless. Hindsight. Mayan stares blankly and subconsciously asks, who came? However, in the space, 7 Brilliance kept his mouth shut and did not speak. Mayan peeks inside with her divine sense and sees that this guy's face is full of disgust. The only thing that could make Qi Huang reveal such an expression was, young martial uncle? Muyan quickly looked around and said loudly, Junior martial uncle, are you here? Far away, behind an inconspicuous hill, a white-robed figure slowly appeared. The night passed and the rain stopped, but the sky was still gray. The entire mountain forest was filled with a damp mist. However, the man in front of her who was leisurely strolling over was so handsome, clear, and graceful. For a moment, it was as if the gloomy world had cleared up a little. A smile surfaced on Muyan's face. Junior martial uncle, why are you here? Luo Yunxiao's black eyes looked at her up and down for a while. After making sure that she was fine, she said lightly, I was just passing by. I still have something to do. Chapter 2390. Does little martial uncle like her? 1. Master, you're lying. A sharp voice jumps out just in time. Mei Yanyan, don't listen to Master's nonsense. He was obviously busy with his own business, but he suddenly rushed over here, going in the opposite direction, and still saying that he was passing by. From the purple cloud world to the blue cloud world, why don't you pass by for me to see? Luo Yunxiao frowns, wanting to send the beast flying with a slap. This time, Chiwen cleverly escapes into Mayan's arms. Master's going to kill the beast to silence it. Mei Yanyan, you must save me. Mayan desperately grabs out Chiwen, who is trying to drill into her clothes. Her complicated gaze can't help but fall on Luo Yunxiao. Only after hearing Wen's words did she react. It seems that every time she is in danger, little martial uncle would always appear. Isn't this too much of a coincidence? Moreover, isn't little martial uncle, isn't he a bit too good to her? Luo Yunxiao doesn't miss the slightest change in her expression. When he perceives the hesitation and avoidance in her eyes, the light in his ink-black pupils dim. A self-deprecating arc appears at the corner of his mouth, but he quickly restrains it. He hides all his emotions very well, very well. When he looks at Mayan again, he is that unparalleled, cold, and taciturn little martial uncle of the Xiaoyao sect. Every time you are in danger of life and death, I will have some reaction. His voice is extremely clear and pleasant to listen to. Although it is flat and indifferent, it has a magic power that makes people want to believe. I don't know where this feeling comes from, but when I see you are in danger, I can't not save you. Luo Yunxiao's words immediately dispel the doubts that have just arisen in Mayan's mind. She widens her eyes in surprise. Little martial uncle, you mean, when I am in danger, you will have a reaction? What kind of reaction? Luo Yunxiao thinks for a moment. Sometimes I can hear sounds. Sometimes my eyes can vaguely see. After a pause, he hesitantly says, sometimes a grassland and a tower also appear in my sight. Muyan's pupils abruptly contract. Qi Huang, what's going on? Her divine sense immediately sinks into the space. How can little martial uncle see the scene inside the Tian Mo Qin's space? Qi Huang's expression was even more shocked than his face filled with confusion and astonishment. Mu Yan suddenly remembered. A few months ago, Qi Huang suddenly felt an inexplicable pain. Later, it was Mayan who played the zither that saved him. If she remembered correctly, youngest uncle had just left the starry school at that time. Not long after, he returned, but he was covered in injuries. Youngest uncle could see her surroundings, hear her voice, and feel that she was in danger. When little martial uncle was injured, Qi Huang would feel the same pain. Little martial uncle hid in the dark, unwilling to meet them. Others could not find out, but only Qi Huang, who easily found out twice. It can't be. Mu Yan muttered with a dreamy expression. Qi Xiao Huang, I used to say that you and junior martial uncle were quarrelsome, and that you were fated to meet in your previous life. That was all nonsense. Could it be that you really had an affair with my junior martial uncle? When Qi Huang, who was initially panicking, heard this, he immediately exploded. Go to hell. Go to hell. How could I have an affair with that gigolo? Jun Mayan, are you tired of living? You dare to associate me with this kind of trash? These words made Mu Yan unhappy. How is my junior martial uncle trash? Chapter 2391. Could it be that youngest martial uncle likes her? 1. Asking for votes. He has looks, strength, and responsibility. He's the idol of so many men in the world, and the dream lover of so many women. I think it's a waste for him to be with a brat like you. You actually have the nerve to dislike him. Jun Mayan, are you trying to piss me off? You're actually siding with this stinking gigolo. I want to break up with you. Break up. Qi Huang's roar almost pierces Mayan's eardrums. She resolutely withdraws her divine sense from the Tian Mo Qin's space. When she looks up, she sees a flash of concern in Luo Yunxiao's eyes. Mayan can't help but blush. She was actually suspecting whether her youngest martial uncle liked her. It's really a sin. It turns out that everything was caused by her own spirit. Young martial uncle has a cold face but a warm heart. He's usually indifferent to them, but as long as the Xiaoyao school is in danger, he won't hesitate to come to their rescue. Just like last time, when Big Brother and the others entered the sword furnace. In the Xiaoyao school, young martial uncle treats her the best. This is probably because she's the only one in the school who is his master. He regards her as his disciple. When his disciple is in trouble, and he sees it with his own eyes, how could a master not help? Mei Yan, don't listen to the master's nonsense. He clearly covets your beauty and wants to be with you. It's not because... Qiwen screams, wanting to say something. Luo Yunxiao raises his hand, and it's caught in the air. Without waiting for it to object, it's directly stuffed into the spirit beast bag. Mayan's mouth twitches. Really? She's never seen a spiritual pet that's more suicidal than Qiwen. Fortunately, young martial uncle can tolerate it. Luo Yunxiao looks at Mayan and is about to speak. But he hears Mayan say, young martial uncle, next time, don't specially come for me. Luo Yunxiao is startled, quietly looking at him. His hands and his sleeves can't help but clench into fists, and the pain in his heart spreads like a knife. Yes, he doesn't even have the qualifications to protect her. Mayan softly says, last time in the Xiaoyao school, young martial uncle's injury was caused by rushing to the Woodfern's secret realm to save us, right? Luo Yunxiao's gaze met the girl's clear eyes. In those beautiful eyes that could steal one's soul, there was not the slightest bit of annoyance or disgust. Only worry. Just like how you worry about us, junior martial uncle, we worry about you too. If you really suffer irreversible harm because you saved us, we will never forgive ourselves. Luo Yunxiao went silent for a long time before she said, this is my own choice. It has nothing to do with all of you. Mu Yen sighed and smiled helplessly. Other people's choices have nothing to do with us, but you are the junior martial uncle that we respect and love the most. How can it have nothing to do with us? He clenched his fists tightly in order to suppress the expression on his face that he had lost control of himself. He said indifferently, since you're fine, I'll take my leave first. Mu Yen smiles and waves at him. However, after taking 2 steps, Luo Yunxiao turned around and said calmly, I will take you back to the Xiaoyao sect. Just now, his emotions were agitated and his thoughts were in a mess. Although he didn't completely see the danger that Mayan was in, he knew that someone wanted to kill her. If he left, what would he do if Mayan was hunted down again? Seeing Luo Yunxiao walking in front of her with a serious expression, Mayan burst out laughing. She couldn't tell. Young martial uncle actually has an old mother attribute. Add a small chapter. Ask for a monthly ticket, moi. Chapter 2392. Thinking about it, she seemed to be more and more compatible with the brat Qi Xiaohuang. Luo Yunxiao frowned at her. What are you laughing at? Nothing, nothing. Mu Yen waved her hand. Little martial uncle, let's go. Seeing you return to the Xiaorao sect, your brothers and master must be very happy. Luo Yunxiao threw out a flying boat, and the two jumped on it. Mu Yen stretched and was about to have a good rest. Then she heard the man's clear and magnetic voice. Being chased like this, it seems that your swordsmanship still needs to be improved. A formation plate was thrown in front of Mu Yen. Seeing the dense and complicated blood-red runes on it, Mu Yen only felt that her vision went dark. There's nothing to do on the way. Why don't we start practicing now? As soon as the voice fell, the formation plate of the blood slaughter sword array was activated, and the light shrouded Mu Yen, who was still leaning on the side of the boat. Countless sword chis surged over like an avalanche. Fuck. Mu Yen jumped up and quickly unsheathed the 7 absolute sword to block. When she was forced to run away by the sword light, she only had one thought in her mind. She actually thought that little martial uncle was an old maid, a kind-hearted good person, and even thought that little martial uncle might like her. She must be out of her mind. Mu Yen didn't notice that outside the sword array, on the other side of the flying boat, a man with fluttering black hair was quietly watching her flying figure through the sword light. The expression on his face was tender and sad. Xiozhen Continent, Blood Swords Sect. Fairy Qingwan, the jade key you asked for, we've bought it for you. Gung Chaofan, the master of Blood Sword Sect, respectfully handed the jade key in his hand to Lung Qingwan and smiled flatteringly. The crystal stones and rare elixirs have been placed in the space of the jade key. Fairy, please take a look and see if you are satisfied. Lung Qingwan's eyes swept around and found that the disciples and elders of Blood Sword Sect, including Gung Chaofan, were all in awe of her or secretly looking at her with fascinated eyes. Lung Qingwan gently raised the corner of her mouth, and her face was full of proud smile under the veil. The days of living under someone else's roof on Linglong Island made her extremely sullen. Especially before she took the magnificent quicksand, the group of people from Linglong Island would mock her from time to time, saying that she was ugly and shameless to have thoughts about the emperor. Only when she came to the Blood Sword Sect did she once again enjoy the carefree feeling of being worshipped and admired by others. The cultivation continent was indeed her paradise. She, Lung Qingwan, was going to make a comeback here. She would have a meteoric rise and become Dijun's woman. Everything was just the beginning. Lung Qingwan took the jade key and threw a porcelain bottle to Gung Chaofan. You did very well. This is your reward. Gung Chaofan took the porcelain bottle and looked at it. He was wild with joy. Thank you, Fairy Qingwan. The other people from the Blood Sword Sect all revealed expressions of envy, because they all knew how precious the pills Lung Qingwan gave them were and how effective they were. Gung Chaofan carefully put the porcelain bottle into his storage space before saying flatteringly, Fairy Qingwan, with your identity, participating in the medicinal pill competition is simply a reckless waste of God's gifts. Actually, as long as you announce your name, who would have the guts to compete with you? Lung Qingwan smiled arrogantly and didn't say anything. She certainly didn't care about a small medicinal pill competition in the cultivation continent. But she needed an opportunity to let the news that she was June Mayan spread throughout the cultivation continent. Lung Qingwan knew that the emperor had come to the lower realm several times, so he must have come to see that slut June Mayan. Chapter 2393. That bitch is very stubborn. She would probably rather die than tell us how to contact the emperor. So even if she dies, Lung Qingwan doesn't know how to see Di Mingju. The only way was for her to make a name for herself in the Tianguang ruins and the elixir competition, so that everyone would look up to her. At that time, everyone will think that she is June Mayan. As long as the emperor comes to the Xiozhen continent, he will naturally come to find her. Lung Qingwan touched her face and revealed a determined smile. With this face, as long as he saw the emperor, he would definitely be able to make him fall head over heels for him. At that time, would it still matter whether she was June Mayan or not? Lung Qingwan waved her hand and let Geng Chaofan and the others leave the room. She quickly entered the Tianguang ruins. In the endless chaos of the Tianguang ruins login space, the mechanical voice asked, "Please state the name you used in the Tianguang ruins." Lung Qingwan, June Mayan. The login lobby fell into a strange silence. After a while, a flat voice was heard. "Sorry, this name is already in use. Please change it." Lung Qingwan frowned. Could it be that June Mayan, that slut, had also been to Tianguang ruins? Humph, so what if I've been there? After her master kills her, who is June Mayan in the end, won't she have the final say? Using the name of that dead slut, she felt disgusted in her heart. Immortal fairy June Qingwan. Confirmed. Would you like to change your appearance? Lung Qingwan didn't hesitate to raise it by 100%. But she didn't expect that her current appearance could only be improved by 40%. Lung Qingwan directly increased the temperature by 40% and then appeared in the reincarnation square. Hiss! What a beautiful woman! There's actually such a beauty in this world.
Who was that?
Why does it seem like it's your first time in the Tianguang ruins? Why does this woman look so familiar? Where have I seen her before? Lung Qingwan narrowed her eyes in enjoyment when she saw the infatuated, amazed, and envious gazes of the people around her. She really wanted to listen to more and be praised by more people. However, he thinks of his master's plan and the fact that the news of Mayan's death has yet to come out. She still reluctantly covered her face. In a boutique, Lung Qingwan saw her appearance in the Tianguang ruins. In reality, after taking the magnificent quicksand, she's only 60% similar to June Mayan. Now it was 90%. Lung Qingwan simply couldn't bear to part with such a stunning appearance. Then he felt a little angry. It was all because Lu Ruoxuan's medicine was too weak. Otherwise, she would have turned into this stunning beauty in reality. With such beauty, which man in the world wouldn't want to be under her skirt? Lung Qingwan was currently infatuated with herself. Suddenly, he heard the conversation of a few people outside the shop. The alchemy competition that is held once every 4 years in the Purple Cloud Realm is about to begin.
Who do you think will be the champion this time?
Needless to say, it must be the top of the coiled dragon list, Master Su Qingling. In my opinion, Master Bo is also a possibility. Oh, right. Do you still remember Yi Liangchen, the god who inherited the King of Herbs? Will she participate in the alchemy competition? Obtain the inheritance of the Medicine King? Lung Qingwan's eyes brightened, revealing a greedy and longing expression. Could it be the King of Herbs that she was thinking of? Coming out of the Tianguang ruins, Lung Qingwan was still calculating in her mind. Suddenly, there was a bang on the roof. A blood-stained figure fell directly from the top, falling in front of Lung Qingwan. Chapter 2394. Lung Qingwan takes a closer look and immediately exclaims, "Master?" The person who came is Lung Yuexia. Only, the current Lung Yuexia is really in an indescribable sorry state. It's full of blood, and the exposed skin is also cracked inch by inch. The spiritual energy and immortal energy on her body are even more chaotic. Master, what's wrong with you? Suddenly, her heart tightens and she blurts out, could it be that you couldn't kill Mayan? Lung Yuexia resists the pain in her body, stands up, and takes an elixir. When the medicine takes effect, she slowly breathes a sigh of relief and coldly looks at Lung Qingwan. Are you questioning your master? No, this disciple doesn't dare. Lung Yuexia sneers, an insignificant core stage cultivator. Do you think she can survive when this queen takes action? Lung Qingwan's breathing tightens. Her eyes light up with a fiery and excited light. Master, you mean that slut Mayan? That slut is really dead? The scene of the Yanwu continent suddenly flashes through her mind. She cautiously says, Master, have you really confirmed it? That slut is very cunning. If she escapes again. Impudent! Lung Yuexia harshly shouts, raising her hand and ruthlessly slaps Lung Qingwan. Your wings have hardened. You even dare to question your master's words and ability. Lung Qingwan is so scared that she retreats again and again, covering her face and choking with sobs. This disciple doesn't dare. This disciple doesn't dare. Lung Yuexia takes a deep breath. The corner of her mouth hooks up into a sinister smile. Falling into the refining god abyss, without a corpse left, you say she's not dead? Falling into the refining god abyss. Lung Qingwan is startled, then bursts into laughter. Even if this immortal body of mine falls into the refining god abyss, I would still die without a doubt. That slut is dead this time. She's really dead. Ha ha ha, from now on, I am Mayan. I am Dijun's beloved woman. Lung Yuexia sneers at her and says in a low voice, the side effects of crossing the barrier are greater than I thought. In the next few days, I have to properly heal my injuries. During this period of time, just follow our plan step by step. Inform me when the Imperial Monarch comes looking for you. Do you understand? Understood. Lung Yuexia faintly looked at her. Lung Qingwan, don't forget, your little life is still in my hands. If you dare to do anything behind my back, don't blame me for being ruthless. Lung Qingwan was angry, but she didn't dare to say anything. She bowed and said, Yes, Master, this disciple doesn't dare. Humph, you better not dare. Only after Lung Yuexia left did Lung Qingwan dare to raise her head and reveal her own resentful expression. But soon, the resentment turned into joy and excitement. Jun Mayan is dead. In this world, there is no second person with such a stunning face. The position of Polar Domain's mistress must belong to her. Haraha. Mu Yan and Luo Yunxiao returned to the Xiaoyao school. Sure enough, when Shi Qing and the 6 young masters saw their junior martial uncle return, they were extremely happy. They all asked him to stay in the Xiaoyao school for a few more days. However, such excitement and joy turned into madness 10 days later. Because for an entire 10 days, they'd been trapped in little martial uncle's hellish training. They wanted to live and wished they were dead. Living was worse than death. Even such a resilient person like Mu Yan couldn't bear it in the end. She cried and complained to Qi Huang in the Tian Mo Qin space. I will no longer complain that you despise my junior martial uncle. He's simply not a human. If she could, she really wanted to use a needle and thread to seal her mouth from 10 days ago. Chapter 2395. You asked him to come back. You said that everyone in the Xiaoyao sect missed the Uncle Master. Now, he had lifted a rock and smashed it on his own feet. Therefore, 10 days later, when the young martial uncle left without saying goodbye, leaving behind a pile of spell discs and ancient books, the people of the Xiaoyao sect didn't feel sad at all. Instead, they wanted to celebrate. Even Shi Qing was greatly relieved. He finally had the courage to take out the hidden wine and drink to his heart's content. Lung Yuma wiped the cold sweat on her forehead and said, The Uncle Master is even scarier than before. Those people still call us the Xiaoyao Seven Devils. In my opinion, the most devilish person in the whole Xiozhen continent is Mr. Yunxiao, whom they crazily love. The other 6 people nodded. They couldn't agree more. But it had to be said that the Xiao Yao Seven Sons had made great progress in these 10 days of training. Especially Mu Yan, Luo Yunxiao tortures her the most. But she also gained the most. Although Mayan's self-created swimming dragon double slash, flowing light sword, and indiscriminate destruction are powerful, they consume too much of her body's energy. Among them, the indiscriminate destruction was the most terrifying. It was a method of exchanging lives for lives. After the Uncle Master saw these 3 moves, he showed a cold expression, which made Mu Yan shudder. Because she knew that the Uncle Master, who had always been indifferent and distant, was really angry this time. Once the Uncle Master was angry, it was like a level 10 hurricane for the Xiao Yao sect, with corpses floating for thousands of miles. Everyone was so scared that they wanted to hide in a hole and not come out. Mu Yan thought that she was going to be severely punished. She didn't expect that Luo Yunxiao didn't punish her in the end, but spent 3 days and 3 nights to improve the 3 moves for her. The power was the same, but it was not a way to exchange life for life. Mu Yan looked at the detailed records and reminders about the 3 moves in her hand. She was touched and warm. "Excuse me, are Miss June and the Xiao Yao Seven Sons here?" A voice that was amplified by spiritual power came from afar. And this voice made the people of the Xiao Yao sect look at each other, showing a vigilant expression. The spiritual power in the air was clearly an expert, at least a nascent soul cultivator. No, maybe not nascent soul, but astral projection. Furthermore, Mu Yan raises her eyebrows. This voice seems somewhat familiar. The few of them quickly went outside. A gentle and elegant man was standing under the signboard of the Xiao Yao sect. He looked to be in his 40s or 50s, and he deliberately restrained the pressure and spiritual power fluctuations around him. The way they applied was very polite and respectful. Seeing the 7 of them come out, the man was overjoyed. He immediately took a step forward, bowed, and said, "I am Chu Zongxing of Longting Academy. On the orders of the headmaster and Elder Kong, I would like to ask Miss June to help Longting Academy with a favor." The moment she saw the person, Mu Yan recognized the man. She couldn't help but look surprised. "Vice President Chu, why are you here?" The person who had come was the Vice Dean of Dragon Soaring Academy, Chu Zongxing. Mu Yan had interacted with this person during the fight for the mysterious heaven bead, and knew that he was an upright and plain-spoken good person. At the very least, he was at Leaving Aperture Realm high tier. Even in the Ziyun realm, such a person would be a big shot. But now, he had actually personally come to a small place like the Azure Cloud World, and he was still acting so condescendingly. Chapter 2396. Everyone couldn't help but reveal a surprised expression. Mu Yan was about to step forward to help him up. Vice Principal Chu was so frightened that he retreated again and again. I wouldn't dare. You are you and the Emperor. How could this one accept your respect and support?" Mu Yan could only no longer force him, and said, "Vice Principal Chu said that I need to help Soaring Dragon with something."
What is it?
Chu Zongxing raised his head and fixed his gaze on Mu Yan, his eyes revealing a pleading expression. "I ask Miss June to represent Soaring Dragon in the pill competition. Otherwise, I'm afraid that Soaring Dragon will not be able to protect 6 Stars Pagoda and Chaotic Tower." As soon as these words came out, Mu Yan's pupils suddenly shrank. Unable to protect 6 Stars Pagoda and Chaotic Tower? What was going on? If she remembered correctly, the Chaotic Tower was hers, right? Someone wants to covet these 2 towers?
Why?
Mu Yan frowned. What does this have to do with the pill competition? From Vice Principal Chu's narration, Mu Yan finally knew the ins and outs of the matter, and this matter really had something to do with her. It turned out that in the Ziyun realm, a pill competition was held every 4 years. For the alchemists of the Xiozhen continent, this could be said to be the most important competition. For other cultivators, this pill competition naturally made them look forward to it, because in their cultivation and battle, it was impossible for them to not rely on pills at all. Therefore, the pill competition was a grand occasion for the entire Xiozhen continent. But for the Unfettered 7, who had always lived in a corner of the blue cloud world and had never come into contact with alchemy before. This was the first time they had heard of this news. Vice Principal Chu. Due to the importance of the pill competition, this competition is usually hosted by the three great imperial families of the Eastern Continent, the Southern Continent, and the Western Continent. This year, it was the Eastern Continent's turn, hosted by the Lan imperial family. Since our soaring dragon is located in the Eastern Continent, we naturally have to participate. But he paused, his expression showing a bit of embarrassment, but Soaring Dragon is not good at alchemy, and the students that they train are mainly battle type. Although there are alchemy instructors in the academy, their level is simply heaven and earth compared to the grandmasters who participate in the pill competition. So, in every competition, Soaring Dragon only sends one instructor to participate. Muyan raises an eyebrow. Did something happen this year? Vice President Chu nodded solemnly. Miss June, do you still remember Chu Tianyu? The leader of the Kirin team, the prodigy who had tried to impersonate Yi Liangchen. Later on, Mu Yan even saved him from a leaving aperture stage cultivator who was on the verge of death. It hadn't been that long. Of course Mu Yan would remember. Then Miss June should also remember, right? He was the son of Dingwa Marquis, Chu Xinyan. The leaving aperture cultivator you killed that day is called Zhao Xiong, one of the trusted subordinates of the Marquis of Dingwa. Hearing the three words, Dingwa Marquis, Mu Yan and the 6 Xiaoyao sons all sat up straight, revealing a dignified expression. When she fought with Zhao Xiong, Mu Yan knew that the Dingwa Marquis, Chu Xinyan, was the mastermind behind the longevity of the Flood Dragon experiment. Diyu Dao and Tian Haiba were both under his control. In fact, it was also this marquis who trapped the evil warding sword in the Fuxi secret realm and almost killed Xiao Bao. The enmity between the two sides had long been established. But the 7 Xiaorao sons knew that with their current cultivation and strength, there was no way to compete with the Dingwa Marquis. The Dingwa Marquis did not know of the existence of Mu Yan and the others. That was why the two sides had been at peace until now. Chapter 2397. But Mu Yan knew that the battle with Chu Xinyan would come sooner or later. Vice Principal Chu sighed and said, "It's also our fault for not being thorough enough. Chu Xinyan's people actually found out that Zhao Xiong died near our Dragon Ascension Academy. Someone even passed the news of Chu Tianyu being in Dragon Ascension to Chu Xinyan. Chu Xinyan wanted us to hand over Chu Tianyu and the person who killed Zhao Xiong, but we had no choice but to deny it. The two sides fell into a stalemate, and Chu Xinyan even sent an army to surround Divine Elephant City." Mu Yan frowned. "So arrogant. Does the Lan royal family not care?" Vice Principal Chu shook his head with a bitter smile. "Miss June, do you know how high Chu Xinyan's cultivation is? 3rd on the Azure Sky proclamation. Moreover, the last time he made a move in public was many years ago. No one knows how strong he is now, and whether he has already become the 1st on the Azure Sky proclamation. Let me tell you this, in the Lan royal family and Long Tongue, no one can surpass him in strength. Even if the two sides join forces, there is no guarantee of victory." Mu Yan and the others sucked in a breath of cold air. Vice Principal Chu continued, "But half a month ago, Chu Xinyan personally came to see Elder Kong.
He proposed a bet.
As long as our Long Tongue wins, he will immediately withdraw his troops and promise never to set foot in Long Tongue. On the other hand, Long Tongue will either hand over Chu Tianyu and the person who killed Zhao Xiong or send the Chaotic Pagoda and 6 Stars Pagoda to the Dingwa Manor." Mu Yan narrowed her eyes and said slowly, "This bet is related to the pill competition?"
"Exactly."
Chu Xinyan said that his Dingwa Manor will support one person to participate in the pill competition, and our Long Tongue will also send one person. Whoever wins first place in the Grand Alchemy competition will win this bet. Chu Moli, who usually didn't like to talk, suddenly laughed softly. He said nonchalantly, "It's not about whose results are better and who wins the bet, but who wins the championship and who wins the bet. The Dingwa Marquis seems very confident." Vice Principal Chu nodded. Flames of anger appeared in his eyes as he gritted his teeth. Elder Kong was unwilling to agree, but Chu Xinyan despicably used the lives of the Longting students and teachers to threaten him. He even killed his most beloved granddaughter in front of Dean Zhou and all the teachers and students of the academy. Left with no choice, Elder Kong could only agree. Furthermore, he used the heavenly Tao as a witness to make a bet with Chu Xinyan. If he disobeys, Elder Kong's soul will scatter, and he will never be able to reincarnate. Mu Yen frowns. This Chu Xinyan style of doing things was truly vicious and shrewd enough. Vice Principal Chu turned his head and wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes. Only after calming himself down did he continue, "The bet has already been made. We have no other choice but to prepare for the pill competition." Dean Zhou also sent someone to investigate the alchemist supported by Chu Xinyan. "We originally thought that even if the alchemist of Soaring Dragon was not strong enough, we could spend a lot of money to hire one from outside." However, Vice Headmaster Chu revealed a look of despair. "Only by investigating this person do we know why Chu Xinyan was so confident that he dared to bet the champion of the alchemy competition." Luo Yu could not help but ask, "Who is this person? Is it Master Su Qingling?" Su Qingling was by far the most famous alchemist in the entire Xiozhen continent. The 7 carefree children were all amateurs when it came to alchemy. Chapter 2398. Even Mayan, she only cared about her own alchemy and never went to understand the news outside. Therefore, the number 1 alchemy grandmaster, Su Qingling, can be regarded as the only name they know. Unexpectedly, Vice Principal Chu shakes his head. "It's not Master Su. This person is much more powerful than Master Su." He pauses, then says in a slightly hoarse voice, "It only took 10 days for her to surpass Master Su Qingling and become the top of the 10th rank Panlong list of elixirs. Moreover, she has more points than Master Su Qingling by a whole 100,000 points." The Xiao Yao 7 look at each other. "Mayan, what is the Panlong list?" Luo Yu, "Is 100,000 points a lot?" Lung Yuma, "It took 10 days to become the first. What's there to make a fuss about?" At that time, little junior sister slaughtered a list in one night. Vice Principal Chu's unwilling, aggrieved, and frightened expression suddenly stiffens on his face. He almost forgot. Becoming the top of the Panlong list in 10 days is indeed shocking. But the ancestor who has done even more appalling things is still in front of him. Jun Mayan, Yi Liangchen. These 2 names always give people a feeling that as long as they want to do it, there is nothing in this world that they can't accomplish. This is also the reason why Elder Kong and Dean Zhou, when they were at their wits' end, asked him to seek help from Jun Mayan. Vice Principal Chu's face finally shows a smile. But immediately, his smile stiffens on his face. "Wait a minute. Miss Jun doesn't even know what the Panlong list is? Can she really refine an elixir above the 7th rank? Can she really win in the elixir competition?" Lung Yuma sees that his head is covered in cold sweat. She anxiously scratches her ears and cheeks, but she doesn't say a word. She can't help but urge, "What is the Panlong list? Who is the one who caught up with Master Su? You can't tell a story like this, you're still leaving people hanging." The corner of Vice Principal Chu's mouth twitches, then he tells her about the Panlong list. As it turns out, Tianguang Ruins is the largest trading platform in the entire Xiozhen continent. There are various lists for many tradable items. Among them, there were a total of 4 lists regarding the value of pills. They were the Apricot Forest List, Glazed List, Spiritual Pivot List, and Coiling Dragon List. These 4 lists were divided according to the grade of the pill. 7th grade pills could only be on the Apricot Forest List. 8th grade pills could only be on the Glaze list, 9th grade pills could only be on the Spiritual Pivot list, and 10th grade pills could only be on the Coiling Dragon list. As for elixirs below the 7th grade, for a true alchemy grandmaster, they were not worth mentioning. Therefore, he was not qualified to be on the list. Vice Principal Chu said, "The points of the elixirs are all appraised by the Glazed Cauldron in the Tianguang Ruins Appraisal Treasure Pavilion. There's no mistake." Tianguang Ruins elixir rankings have been out for hundreds of years, but there have always been pitifully few cultivators who can make it to the 10th grade coiled dragon list. There have never been more than 100 people. All these years, Master Su has always been number 1 on the coiled dragon leaderboard, and his points are double that of the number 2. No one thought that someone could surpass Master Su and become the top of the coiled dragon leaderboard. Mayan said, "Who is this person?" Vice Principal Chu shook his head. "She's called Jun Qingwan, and her name in Tianguang Ruins is Immortal Fairy Jun Qingwan. We've never heard of this name before." Mayan raised her brows. "Surnamed Jun? Moreover, why does this name sound somewhat familiar to her?" She seemed to have heard it somewhere before. Chapter 2399. Assist Soaring Dragon to participate in the pill competition. 2. Asking for votes. The rest of the Xiao Yao sect frowned. Same surname as junior sister? For some reason, this Jun Qingwan made them very annoyed. What the hell? To have the same surname as junior sister and still be the dog of the Dingua Marquis. The smile on Vice Principal Chu's face became even more bitter as he sighed. "We tried all kinds of ways to investigate this person's information, but we only know that she first appeared in the Blood Sword sect, then was recruited by Chu Xinyan and agreed to participate in the pill competition. After receiving this news, we knew that no matter who we found, our soaring dragon would definitely lose this bet. We had no choice but to disturb Miss June." Muyan looked at him with a smile that wasn't a smile. "I seem to have only refined a pill once in Soaring Dragon, and it was only a 6th grade pill. Why do you think that I will definitely win the pill competition?" Vice Principal Chu stood up and bowed deeply to Muyan. "To be honest, I also don't believe that Miss June can win. But Elder Kong and Principal Zhou said that if there's a person in this world who can create a miracle and be undefeated, it must be Yiliangchen." Moreover, many people might have forgotten. The girl in front of him was the only successor of the Medicine King. "Miss June, please assist Soaring Dragon to participate in the pill competition." After saying that, he looked at Mu Yan apprehensively. This was Soaring Dragon's last hope. But this hope was very, very slim. But Soaring Dragon couldn't afford to lose. Losing the Chaotic Tower was fine, but if they lost the 6 Stars Tower, then Soaring Dragon's status would plummet, and they would no longer have the qualifications to be called the number 1 school in the Ziyun realm. If Muyan didn't agree to participate, then she might not have the slightest chance of winning. Then, this thought just flashed through his mind when he saw the girl in front of him curling her lips into an evil and lazy smile. "Okay, I agree to participate in the pill competition on behalf of Soaring Dragon." Vice Principal Chu suddenly raised his head, his face full of surprise. He heard Mu Yan sneer. "I want to leave the Chaotic Tower for... You even dare to covet this Mrs. Thing, hee hee. Then let's see if you can afford it." There was less than a month left until the alchemy competition. Mu Yan and the others didn't delay any longer. Riding on Chu Zongxing's flying sword, they rushed to the purple cloud world at lightning speed. This was also the second time the Unfettered Seven had set foot in the Purple Cloud Realm and the Dragon Soaring Academy. Last time, they were participants in the Deer Cry Grand Banquet. They were unknown, and no one looked up to them. This time, it was Long Tongue who invited him and treated him like a distinguished guest. Along the way, Muyan has been hiding in the cabin without coming out. In other words, she had been in the Medicine King's inheritance space for the past 2 days. With a time flow of 12:1, he had studied for more than 20 days. For Mu Yan, she wanted to participate in the Medicine King tournament. The biggest challenge was not to refine 7th, 8th, 9th, or even 10th grade elixirs. Nor was it to defeat the mysterious and powerful immortal fairy Jun Qingwan. Instead, she had to first pass Little Nine's Master's Abnormal Test and let the purity of the pill reach 95% and above. Otherwise, all of her pills wouldn't be allowed to be sold at all. According to Han Chuzhou's words, as the dignified Medicine King's successor, taking this kind of garbage out was a disgrace. Moreover, it was a disgrace to the Medicine King's face. In the inheritance space, 2 identical figures appeared in 2 corners of the room. Daily request for tickets. Dear friends who still have tickets, don't waste them. Thank you, dear 13708, for your 10,000 yuan reward. Thank you, dear Sad Life. Sand Sculpture 17. ULA Jobs Job. Fragrant You. I am not a lemon. Why sad? Crepe Myrtle Bell. 3 lines. Love letter. Cuckoo. Guijin Mei. Qingling. Qianmo. Shu Wen Mulin. Wait for the reward. Thank you, everyone. Chapter 20, 400. One is strumming the Tian Mo Chin, while the other's hands are like fluttering butterfly shadows shuttling over the Dan furnace. From time to time, he would put all kinds of pills on it. Layers of Phantom and Prairie Fire Spark were activated at the same time. In the pill furnace, the originally irregularly jumping flames seemed to be attracted by the power of the 5 elements. Slowly, it became smaller and smaller, but it also became purer and purer, and the temperature became higher and higher. Fine beads of sweat dripped from Mayan's forehead. However, the light in her eyes grew brighter and brighter. A single spark makes a great fire, greatly increased her ability to control fire. She had a premonition that this time, the purity of the pills that she refined would definitely be able to meet Little Nine's master's requirements. The alchemy furnace let out a buzzing sound. Wisps of medicinal fragrance emanated from the top of the cauldron and filled the entire room. Then, a bang sound was heard. The lid of the furnace flew out and fell to the ground. In an instant, the originally faint medicinal fragrance became intoxicating. He had finally succeeded. He wondered if the purity of the pill had reached 95%. Mu Yan nervously stands up and is about to walk over to the alchemy furnace. Suddenly, a figure flashed before his eyes. Han Chujia's lovely baby face appeared in front of him. He used his fair, soft, and smooth hand to grab a pill from inside and sniffed it casually. A smile finally appeared on his face, which had been deliberately maintaining his master's dignity. Very good. In less than 3 months, the purity has reached 95%. You are truly worthy of being my disciple. She was looking at Mu Yan, but Han Chujia's face was full of smiles. Her cheeks, which were already slightly puffed up, looked even rounder and cuter. Looking at it, Mayan's hands itch, especially wanting to pinch it. Little Nine's master was really too cute. It was a pity that Little Nine's master was most afraid of people treating him like a child. It was such a pity that he could only look at such a cute face but not pinch it. Just as he was feeling regretful, someone flicked his head. Mu Yan's eyes and hands are sharp. She grabs the elixir in her hand. Han Chujio, who was sitting opposite her, glared at her. Didn't I just praise you for being smart? Why was he in a daze? Don't you understand what I said? Mayan stares blankly. Then her pupils suddenly contract. 9th Master, you mean, you're allowing me to sell elixirs? Han Chujio put her hands behind her back and slightly raised her chin. Then, she snorted and said, Now, with your level, you will not disgrace this master's name. Thank you, Master Xiaojio. Mu Yan is simply overjoyed. But she hasn't been happy for a while when she heard Han Chujio said, Although the purity is good, the level of the pills you have refined so far is too low. Could a 6th grade medicinal pill be considered a medicinal pill? Bah, that's trash. For my medicine king's disciple to refine a grade 6 Dan, that would be beneath him. Mayan touches her nose. Master, this disciple can already refine a 7th grade supplement spirit pill.
Bah.
How can the restorative spirit pill be considered a medicinal pill? Han Chujio waved her hand and said with disdain, Since your purity has reached the standard, from now on, you will learn how to refine 7th to 10th grade pills. With that, he frowns and says to himself, Tisk, 10th grade elixirs are also trash. This father has forgotten how to refine these trash. I have to go back and look through the ancient books. Mu Yan's mouth twitches. In the entire Xiozhen continent, a medicinal pill above the 7th grade is already a rare resource that everyone scrambles for. Chapter 2401. Especially those 10th grade elixirs used for advancement and life-saving. They were priceless and were equivalent to quasi-divine artifacts. But in the eyes of Xiaojuo's master, they were all trash. Han Chujiu said, "Forget it. Anyway, you should make 10th grade elixirs as soon as possible, so I can teach you how to make the King Elixir." King Elixir. Mu Yan's breathing stopped for a moment. In the cultivation continent, it was a legendary elixir. It was as rare as divine artifacts among magic treasures. If she could make King Elixirs, how many crystals could she sell each one for? That way, she, the Xiaoyao School, and the Netherfire Army would no longer have to live in poverty. The flying ship soon arrived at the Dragon Ascension Academy. The Xiaoyao 7 were still staying in the Tianling Palace. It was already late. Vice College head Shu had agreed to visit them tomorrow. Mu Yan only said a few words before entering the inheritance space. Previously, she had been learning how to control fire to make elixirs in the inheritance space. This time, she spent 2 hours, which was an entire day in the inheritance space, to make hundreds of 6th grade barrier-breaking elixirs. It was still early when she left the inheritance space, so Mu Yan entered the Tianguang ruins. Since the Medicine King's inheritance test, Mu Yan had returned to the Starry School, entered the Woodfern secret realm, and exterminated the Blazing Flame clan. She had been extremely busy. During this period, she had almost never entered the Tianguang ruins. Now that she was here, she almost didn't recognize the scene in front of her. She saw that the usually empty reincarnation square was now packed with people. On the tall tower in the middle of the square, golden characters that could blind people were written. The elixir competition is about to be held. There was even a betting option below. At the bottom of the tower, there were 4 light screens erected in the 4 directions of the east, south, west, and north. On the light screen were the 7th grade Apricot Forest list, the 8th grade Glazed list, the 9th grade Spiritual Pivot list, and the 10th grade Coiled Dragon list. At this time, the reincarnation square was densely packed with people, all of them discussing the 4 lists. Especially in front of the 10th grade Coiled Dragon list, there were even more people. From time to time, he would hear the name Immortal Fairy Jun Qingwan. Mu Yan looked up. Sure enough, on the top of the Coiling Dragon list, she saw the name Immortal Fairy Jun Qingwan, followed by the number of points, 569,000. The second place was Su Qingling, with a total of 472,000 points. Mu Yan casually withdraws her gaze and looks at the magnificent scene in front of her. She can't help but become speechless. It seemed that Tianguang Ruins was really attaching great importance to the pill competition this time. At this moment, the conversation of a few people not far away entered her ears.
Bah!
What great Gaudier! Wasn't he just a bit lucky and obtained the inheritance of the Medicine King? Unfortunately, he was just an ugly monster that only knew how to fight and kill. In terms of alchemy, how can you compare to our immortal fairy Qingwan? That's right. Even if immortal fairy Qingwan is masked, we can still see her peerless beauty. Who does Yi Liangchen think he is? He doesn't even deserve to carry our fairy Qingwan's shoes. Only a bunch of ugly women like Yi Liangchen would fall for a girl with no face, right? Ha ha ha. The ones who spoke were 3 men who looked like scholars. They were dressed in embroidered clothes, and their cultivation was not low. They had a casual and elegant look. But at this time, they were mercilessly humiliating the 2 girls, without any grace to speak of. Chapter 2402. The faces of the 2 girls turned red, and they trembled with anger. Don't talk about Gaji like that. The slightly older girl gritted her teeth and said loudly, "We didn't provoke you at all. We just spoke up and said, Goddessy hasn't been here for a long time, and we miss her very much." What did such words do to you? We also didn't slander Fairy Qingwan. What right do you have to insult Gaji? The quarrel attracted the attention of the crowd. Many people stood behind the 2 girls, glaring at the men. How dare you insult Gaji in Tianguang Ruins? Do you think our Liangchen army doesn't exist? What fairy Qingwan? Didn't she just climb the coiled dragon list?
What's so great about that?
God Yi slaughtered all 6 lists of the Dragon Ascension list. Can Jun Qingwan do that? The men dressed like scholars panicked at first when they saw so many people surrounding them. But they quickly calmed down and shouted, Liangchen army is trying to bully people again. Everyone come and judge. Ever since Yi Liangchen obtained the King of Medicine's inheritance, he hasn't even refined a single pill. Am I wrong to call him trash and waste the inheritance? Hearing this, many of the surrounding cultivators could not help but nod their heads. How glorious was Yi Liangchen when he obtained the King of Medicine's inheritance. I thought that in 2 days, Laozi's #1 store would sell pills? I didn't expect. I thought that the King of Medicine's inheritance test had nothing to do with pills. In my opinion, Yi Liangchen is indeed good at fighting, but alchemy? Forget it. He hasn't appeared for so long. I think he's too ashamed to see people if he can't refine pills. Hearing the support of the people around them, the scholars were getting more and more pleased. Some even jumped onto the eaves of the tower to make themselves look taller. He said loudly, in my opinion, the King of Medicine's inheritance should be given to Fairy Qingwan. Giving it to that trash Yi Liangchen is a complete waste of resources. After Fairy Qingwan refines the pill, it will benefit all of us. Don't you think so? Someone immediately echoed, that's right. Yi Liangchen, hand over the King of Medicine's inheritance. Even if it's not given to Fairy Qingwan, it should be shared among all the alchemists. Otherwise, wouldn't King of Medicine have no successor? Muyan raises her eyebrows. His gaze swept across the scholars and the people beside them, and his lips curled into a cold smile. These people seemed to have come prepared. Was his goal the inheritance of Little Nine's master? Liangchen's army was seething with anger. A few bad-tempered ones even started cursing. What the hell? You can't get the King of Medicine's inheritance, yet you want God Yi to give it up? Who gave you face? If that Jun Qingwan is so capable, why didn't she participate in the Medicine King's assessment back then? Besides, who said that Great God Yi can't refine pills? Great God Yi is just too busy and has no time to refine pills. The scholar on the tower laughed 3 times. You're just too busy to concoct pills? Aren't you afraid of being laughed to death by saying these words? I, Gao Shubao, will say it here. If Yi Liangchen can refine a grade 7 Dan, I will eat shit in public just like Wang Bao. Don't talk about grade 7 medicinal pills. Have you heard that Yi Liangchen can refine pills? No need for grade 7. As long as he can refine a grade 6 Dan that is half the effect of her talisman, I will eat shit in public. Chapter 2403. The Smelly Theorem. Here comes the slap. 1. Rebirth Plaza was filled with mocking laughter. Liangchen's army, on the other hand, was trembling with rage. They retorted loudly, trying to prove their idol over and over again. However, their voices were drowned out by the deliberate ridicule and humiliation. Muyan narrowed her eyes, her gaze sweeping over a small screen in the distance. Her eyes darkened. It was also a list called the Trend List. Everyone in Tianguang Ruins knew about the existence of the Trend List. It represented the most important transactions in Tianguang Ruins. The Trend List was divided into shop popularity, user popularity, talisman sales, elixir sales, spiritual food sales, and so on. As long as it was related to sales and popularity, it could be found on the Trend List. Usually, the Trend List could also be seen in the major shops. However, because the elixir competition was about to begin, Tianguang Su decided to place the popularity list, elixir competition, on the Rebirth Square. It could be considered a warm-up for the elixir competition. Muyan looked at the screen in the distance for a while, then turned to leave. She didn't choose to help the Liangchen's army slap their faces, but quickly went to Laozi's #1 under heaven shop. Miss, you're finally here. North Sunflower Xiangnuan almost cried tears of joy when he saw her, throwing himself at her and refusing to let go. Carefree Bro was also excited. We haven't heard from you for more than a month. We were really afraid that something had happened to you. If Muyan hadn't prepared a lot of talismans for sale, they wouldn't have been able to open their shop. Tianguang ruins couldn't be entered in the Woodfern secret realm, and Muyan had been busy after leaving, forgetting about it. She smiled apologetically, but didn't say anything. Do you have a way to inform the Liang Chen's army? Carefree Bro was taken aback, then quickly nodded. Yes. What orders do you have, Almighty Yi? Muyan had always insisted that the talismans in Laozi's No. 1 Under Heaven shop be sold at a low price to the Liang Chen's army. To prevent people from taking advantage of the situation, Carefree Bro, North Sunflower Xiang Nuan, Sister Hua, and Old Ma had strictly registered and reviewed all the information of the Liang Chen's army. For example, Muyan's earliest supporters can buy talismans at a discounted price and quantity that others can't compare with. Mayan raises her hand, and a small hill of porcelain bottles appears in front of the two. Inform them that the old man is No. 1 Under the Heavens store has new goods. Elegant Bro and North Sunflower Xiang Nuan were both stunned. New stock? But this was not a talisman. Talismans can't be stored in porcelain bottles, right? Only pills would be used in porcelain bottles. Suddenly, both of them widened their eyes, looking at Muyan in shock. Miss, is this a pill? Muyan hooks up the corner of her lips, lightly smiling, a 6th grade barrier-breaking Dan. It can help golden core cultivators break through the bottlenecks of all minor stages. There's a 30% chance that it can help golden core cultivators reach the nascent soul level. Gasp. North Sunflower Xiang Nuan sucked in a sharp breath. His expression could not have been any more dumbfounded. The porcelain bottle in Agile Bro's hand slipped, and he almost dropped it. He was scared out of his wits. He threw himself at the porcelain bottle and held it tightly in his arms. His head knocked on the table, but he didn't even feel it. Yi, great God, Yi, you're talking about this barrier-breaking pill. It can help core formation cultivators break through? Agile Bro's voice could only be described as sharp. Muyan lightly said, although the barrier-breaking talisman can also help people break through, its effect on Jindan stage cultivators is already negligible. This barrier-breaking pill's effect is more than 10 times better than the barrier-breaking talisman. Chapter 2404. More than 10 times. The barrier-breaking talisman already had godly effects, and the barrier-breaking pill was 10 times stronger than the barrier-breaking talisman. Just how heaven-defying was this effect? Easy Bro hugged the porcelain bottle tightly in his arms. Can I buy it? Almighty, how much is this bottleneck-breaking pill? I want to buy as much as I can on behalf of the Gua family. Muyan thought for a while and said, the bottleneck-breaking elixir is priced at 100,000 top-grade crystals each. You, Little Kue, Old Ma, and Sister Hua will each get one, and are allowed to buy 2. The others can only buy 1 at most according to the order of reservation. According to the old rules, all elixirs purchased by Liang Chen's army will be 20% off. Fan Jipeng was the leader of the group of scholars. Seeing this sight, Zhang Xian couldn't help but frown. What is wrong with Yap Liangchen and his dogs? Why did they suddenly run away? Who knows? Could it be that Yap Liangchen is selling new talismans? Haraha, so what if Yap Liangchen's talisman is powerful? Could it compare to medicinal pills? In the end, she still doesn't know how to refine pills. It's such a waste for someone who doesn't know how to concoct pills to occupy the Medicine King's inheritance. If only this inheritance could be given to immortal fairy Qingwan. Hearing the loud discussions and ridicule of the people around him, a smile appeared on Fan Jipeng's face. As long as Yi Liangchen could not concoct the pill, she would not dare to show her face. The more Yi Liangchen cowered and lost his confidence, the more they could humiliate him and his army. At that time, everyone would be united and immortal fairy Qingwan's reputation would grow. Everyone's resentment towards Yi Liangchen would grow. In this way, she had to hand over the King of Medicine's inheritance whether she wanted to or not. Fan Jipeng was thinking proudly. Suddenly, A scream came from not far away. What? Am I the #1 store in the world selling elixirs? Selling almighty as elixirs? Really? Didn't you say that Yi Liangchen doesn't know how to concoct pills? I heard that it can assist in advancement, and its effects are even better than the barrier-breaking talisman. Just a few hundred of them were put out, and they were all snatched up by Liang Chen's army. No matter what, I have to reserve one. Its effects are even better than the barrier-breaking talisman? Are you bragging? Believe it or not, it's up to you. Gaudia's products must be of the highest quality. I'm going to pre-order one, anyway. Because of this news, there was a commotion in the reincarnation square. Fan Jipeng couldn't believe his ears. Did Yap Liangchen make a Dan? How was this possible? Didn't she not know how to concoct pills? In the blood sword of Wuchen's shop, Leng Qingwan listened to Fan Jipeng's narration. Not only did she not get angry, she even chuckled. This Yi Liangchen is too impatient. How could a trash like him get the king of medicine's inheritance? I wonder what kind of luck he has. The name of Han Chujiu, even in the entire Xiaoxian continent, is well known, because he was the only sacred ancestor medicine king in existence. However, many years ago, this medicine king disappeared without a trace. Almost no one in the Xiaoxian continent has seen him since. Many people said that he had already fallen. Others said that he was trapped in some place and would never be able to come out. There are many rumors, but even if Han Chujiu is really dead, many people are looking for his real inheritance. Because becoming the next sacred ancestor medicine king is a temptation that all alchemists can't resist. The immortals of the Xiaoxian continent have never heard of the rumor that the king of medicine's inheritance may be in the Xiaoxian continent. Chapter 24:05. But firstly, immortals think highly of themselves and don't believe that the medicine king would take a fancy to a lowly mortal from the lower realm and even accept her as his only disciple. Secondly, some people also tried to find the medicine king's inheritance in the cultivation continent, but didn't even find a shadow. But Leng Qingwan didn't expect her luck to be so good. So the medicine king's inheritance really is in the cultivation continent. And it was obtained by a little mortal cultivator. That kind of trash. Is she qualified to receive the medicine king's inheritance? The one who should really become the next sacred ancestor medicine king, and the mistress of polar domain should be me. Seeing Fan Jipeng's blank face, Leng Qingwan's face showed 30% impatience and 70% superiority. Because everyone in Tianguang ruins is questioning whether this Yi Liangchen is qualified to receive the medicine king's inheritance. That's why she panicked and desperately wanted to prove that she can concoct pills. Unfortunately, by doing so, she exposed her own incompetence. Fan Jipeng's eyes lit up. Immortal fairy, what do you mean? Leng Qingwan's face showed ridicule. It's normal for her to be able to obtain the medicine king's inheritance, but do you think it's possible for a 6th grade pill to let an Aurus core cultivator break through the bottleneck and even advance to nascent soul? If she really has this ability, why didn't she directly refine a 7th grade pill and climb up the Xinglin list? Fan Jipeng suddenly understood. I understand. That woman knows that she can't refine a 7th grade pill, so she made a gimmick, saying that her bullshit barrier-breaking pill can let people break through the bottleneck and advance. How can things like advancement be seen in a short time? In this way, she pulled enough gimmick and attention, and those Yi Liangchen's lackeys really thought that she can concoct pills. Naturally, no one will say that she doesn't have the qualifications to inherit the medicine king's inheritance. At this point, Fan Jipeng's face was filled with righteous indignation. Immortal fairy Qingwan, this Yi Liangchen is really too sinister. We can't let her succeed. And we can't let the medicine king's inheritance be wasted in the hands of trash like her. Leng Qingwan laughed lightly. Yi Liangchen wants to deceive everyone, so this empress will take drastic measures and make her lose all standing and reputation, never to climb back up again. Fan Jipeng, do one thing for this empress. Fan Jipeng hurriedly bowed and kneeled on the ground. Immortal fairy, please order this empress. More than a month after the sale of the water element pill talisman, the door of the world's #1 shop was once again crowded with people. Everyone was clamoring to reserve the bottleneck-breaking elixir. Easy Bro, North Sunflower, Xiangnuan, and the rest were so busy that their feet barely touched the ground. Even Sister Hua and Godfather Ma were called over to help. For the past 3 days, these people had not rested for even a moment. Even in the Tianguang ruins, even though the cultivators' bodies were stronger than ordinary people's, they were still so tired that they were a little dazed. But their faces were all brimming with happy smiles. Because in just these 3 days, the number of people who applied to join Liang Chen's army had increased by over 1,000. Sister Hua and Godfather Ma had tried the barrier-breaking pill. Sister Hua had faintly touched the threshold of a breakthrough. Even her alchemy skills had greatly improved. As for Godfather Ma, he had been stuck at Golden Core Stage 9 for a long time, and now he was at the peak of Golden Core Stage. Now that the pill toxins in his body were all gone, and he broke through the bottleneck, there was hope for him to condense his nascent soul. He finally had the strength to survive in this world where the strong preyed on the weak. The mercenary team he formed grew stronger day by day. His wife and children, who he had never dared to expose, were also brought to his side to share their family. Chapter 2406. He didn't even dare to think of such a life before. The cultivation of Elegant Brother and North Kuei Xiangnuan was still too low. It was more suitable for them to use the barrier-breaking talisman instead of the barrier-breaking pill. However, after Elegant Brother's grandfather and father took the barrier-breaking pill, they were overjoyed. Grandpa directly went into seclusion. He said that he was expected to condense his nascent soul within this year. The side branch of the Gua family, who used to covet and provoke, no longer dared to act rashly after Father Gua and Grandfather Gua showed their strength. Elegant Brother, who used to be exiled as a playboy, now had a pivotal position in the Gua family. After North Kuei Xiangnuan's brother took the barrier-breaking pill, he successfully formed his gold core. Moreover, he was a level 3 gold core. He was in the limelight in their sect and was regarded as the leader of the new generation. Because of Yap Liang Chen, the lives of these people had changed drastically. Their lives, which were originally full of danger, were renewed and changed for the better. And this kind of change was happening in many Liangchen army. Their gratitude towards Yi Liangchen could not be described in words. It was not just the fans' support for their idol, nor was it simple worship. They swore to never abandon her. So what if they were tired? As long as Yi Liangchen could become better and better, and Lousy Shop could become more prosperous, they were more than happy. Moreover, could anyone be more tired than Yi Liangchen these days?
Ew.
Because of the popularity of the barrier-breaking pill, the hundreds of pills that Mu Yan brought were sold out in the blink of an eye. She had no choice but to continue refining. Fortunately, there was the inheritance space. Refining for 1 day was equivalent to 12 days. So in 3 days, Mu Yan refined more than 30,000 barrier-breaking pills of the 6th level. In fact, according to Mu Yan's refining speed and the inheritance space, this amount was actually not bad. She could also take out a lot of time every day to gather divine power and pour it into the Tian Mo Qin. Of course, she also practiced for more than 2 hours in the blood-slaughtering sword array of Little Uncle. But in the eyes of North Kuei Xiangnuan and the others, their Yi Liangchen was simply a god. Can you imagine someone being able to refine 30,000 pills in 3 days? The key was that these 30,000 pills were so heaven-defying that they could help people break through the bottleneck. Many of the Liangchen army even rushed to the reincarnation square to celebrate. Because on this trend list, elixir list, at the corner of the reincarnation square, the #1 pill was the 6th grade bottleneck-breaking pill Yi Liangchen. Although this list was not as famous as the 4 lists of the pill competition, it was, after all, in the reincarnation square. How could no one pay attention to it? Liang Chen's army, which had previously been suppressed to the point where they couldn't even raise their heads, was now exhilarated. Who is the one who said that our God, Yi, doesn't know alchemy? And who is the one who said that if our great God Yi could concoct pills, he would eat shit in public? Ha ha ha, where is he now?
Come out.
If you don't know how to refine pills, then give me 3 days to refine 30,000 6th-grade pills and try. If you don't know how to concoct pills, then concoct pills that can help me advance. Ha ha, mighty God Yi. I've said it before. Either God Yi doesn't make a move, or if he does, he'll definitely be first. However, Liang Chen's army only celebrated for a few hours. He heard an incomparably shocking piece of news. Did you hear? The bottleneck-breaking pill can't help people advance at all. Not only can it not help people advance, but it will also kill people. Chapter 24:07. Really? It's absolutely true. Someone vomited blood and died after taking the bottleneck-breaking elixir. Therefore, they brought the rest of the bottleneck-breaking elixir to Fairy Qingwan for inspection. Do you know what Fairy Qingwan said? What did she say? Fairy Qingwan said that the bottleneck-breaking elixir was mixed with demonic energy, which would confuse people's minds and give them the illusion that their strength had increased. But in fact, there would be a huge side effect after taking it. If it's light, one's cultivation would be destroyed. If it's heavy, one would die. A shrill scream came from the crowd in front of the Lousy World's #1 shop. Bottleneck-breaking elixir? It's a scam. My father vomited blood and died after taking the bottleneck-breaking elixir. Lousy World's #1 shop and Yap Liangchen, you must give me an explanation. Everyone was startled by the voice. Then he saw a few people rushing forward aggressively. The one who spoke was a young girl who looked delicate and pitiful. Beside her, there were 2 strong men carrying a stretcher. On the stretcher, there was an old man covered in blood. When they got closer, they found that the blood that the old man vomited was black, and his skin was greenish-purple. When the young girl walked to the front of the Lousy World's #1 shop, she immediately burst into tears and knelt on the ground. Senior brothers, senior sisters, senior uncles, I'm Gu Qinghong. I've been living with my father since I was young. He was my only relative. My father's cultivation had reached level 5 of the Golden Core Realm, but he couldn't break through. Because everyone said that the fasting elixir was good, we spent all our savings. But I didn't expect that after my father took it, he vomited blood, and his body was covered in black gas. He died not long after. Sob, sob, sob. Yap Liangchen is a famous figure in the entire Tianguang ruins. Qinghong knows that I'm weak and can't avenge my father. Today, I'm willing to kill myself in front of the Lousy World's #1 shop. I only hope that all the heroes here can seek justice for our poor father and daughter. Then, with tears in her eyes, she was about to hit the wall of the Lousy World's #1 shop. However, before she could do so, she was hugged by a few scholars. The leader was Fan Jipeng. Fan Jipeng hugged Gu Qinghong tightly. His face was filled with pity and anger. Yi Liangchen sold pills that contained devil qi. It was their fault. Miss Gu, what did you do wrong? How can I let a pitiful woman like you pay with your life for these unscrupulous merchants? This scene made the cultivators at the entrance of Lousy's #1 shop a little confused. However, it was human nature to sympathize with the weak. Gu Qinghong's father had died, yet she was still crying like a pear blossom in the rain, seeking death, coupled with the horrifying state of the old man's death. Many people could not help but stand on her side, showing sympathetic expressions. Fan Jipeng said loudly, "Everyone listen to me. Immortal Fairy Qingwan has already inspected the barrier-breaking pills sold in the shop. She has already said that these pills are mixed with devil qi." Hearing Fan Jipeng's description of the ingredients and effects of the bottleneck-breaking pill, many people revealed a frightened look. Mixed with demonic qi? No way. I've already taken a barrier-breaking pill and broke through from the 3rd level of Jindan to the 4th level. Could it be that my body has already been invaded by devil qi? When Sister Hua and Godfather Ma heard the commotion outside, they walked out and heard Fan Jipeng's words. Chapter 2408. The two men's expressions changed drastically, and they cursed loudly. Fuck off. Who the hell is farting here? Demonic chi is mixed in the bottleneck-breaking elixir? Do you have any proof?
How dare you say that?
Fan Jiping sneered. He pointed at Gu Qinghong, who was sobbing, and the old man who died. Isn't this proof? This old man died because he ate your bottleneck-breaking elixir. Not to mention the fact that Fairy Qingwan checked it herself. He raised his chin and said, Fairy Qingwan is the #1 of the rank 10 coiled dragon list. Do you think she can't even check a 6th grade elixir? His words made the people who were waiting in line even more hesitant. No way. Is there demonic chi in the bottleneck-breaking elixir? How could Yangchen and the #1 store do this to me? They must be crazy to earn crystals. How dare they mix demonic chi in the elixir? Sister Hua was shaking with anger. She said sternly, I was by her side when she was making the bottleneck-breaking elixir. Do you think I don't know whether there is demonic chi in the bottleneck-breaking elixir or not? Don't you dare slander me. Pfft. You guys are Yangchen's lackeys. What's so great about helping her to hide the truth? Ask Yangchen to come out and make the bottleneck-breaking elixir in front of everyone. It's useless to make it in front of everyone. What if she mixed demonic chi in the elixir? No one can see it with their naked eyes. Fan Jipeng saw that the crowd was getting angrier and angrier because of his people. He smirked and raised his voice. Yangchen, your elixir killed someone. Don't you have the courage to come out and face the consequences? What right do you have to inherit the King Herb's heritage? Could it be that you used the knowledge you learned from the Medicine King's inheritance to deliberately harm people? Someone gasped. How could you do that? You got the heritage, but you didn't benefit the cultivation world. Instead, you did the opposite. What right do you have to inherit the heritage? Yangchen, come out and explain yourself. Gu Qinghong cried. Stop shouting. She won't come out and she won't admit that she killed my father. Master Fan, please let me go. Let me kill myself in front of her shop. I don't believe that she'll be able to continue running a shop that's filled with blood debts. Miss Gu, why are you doing this? If I can use my life to exchange for justice, and I can seek justice for my father, then so what if Qinghong dies? Woo woo woo, Gu Qinghong was sobbing, looking like she was going to hit her head against the wall. Fan Jipeng and the others were filled with righteous indignation. Suddenly, a light and pleasant laughter that was like the sounds of nature drowned out Gu Qinghong's cries and entered everyone's ears. You want to exchange your life for justice? At the entrance of Laozi's #1 shop, a young girl's figure slowly appeared. Compared to the female cultivators in Tianguang ruins who had their looks adjusted, the young girl's appearance could only be considered delicate and bland. But the moment she appeared, the world seemed to suddenly fall silent. Everyone's attention, gazes, and minds were unconsciously attracted over. Gu Qinghong's appearance was clearly more beautiful and lovely. But when this girl appeared, everyone seemed to have forgotten about her. Even Gu Qinghong could not help but shiver, and her limbs stiffened. Looking at the young girl's glistening eyes, she felt an indescribable shudder in her heart. Chapter 2409. Mu Yan stands on the steps, looking down at her from above, and says unhurriedly, Miss Gu, right? I heard that you wanted to kill yourself in front of my shop. Forgive me for my rudeness, but I'm really curious and want to see with my own eyes how a person can kill themselves by hitting the wall in Tianguang ruins. As soon as these words come out, the whole place falls into a strange silence. Puffed. Bei Kue Xiangnuan, who is following behind Mu Yan, can't help but laugh. Gu Qinghong's face turns green and white. The others also look stiff, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Gu Qinghong's act of avenging her father, not hesitating to die, was very sincere. And everything in Tianguang ruins was so real. Especially after little Tian leveled up last time, Tianguang ruins can almost simulate most of the real-world experience. Many cultivators who are unhappy in the real world directly lead a befuddled life in Tianguang ruins, not going out. Because there's really no difference between here and reality. But no matter how similar it is to reality, it doesn't include being able to kill oneself by hitting a wall in a virtual field, right? As a result, Gu Qinghong cried so miserably a moment ago, putting on a heroic performance. And Fan Jipeng's heroic act of resisting the powerful and protecting the weak girl seems very embarrassing. After Bei Kuei Xiangnuan laughs, the other Liangchen army also can't help but laugh out loud. Did they come to our Laozi's #1 shop to put on a show? Playing suicide in Tianguang ruins, haha, it's the first time I've heard such a show. If you want to die so much, why don't you just curse at Tianguang ruins? Don't worry, the 36 lightning bolts will definitely kill you. Gu Qinghong's mouth twitches, unable to say a word for a long time. Fan Jipeng's face is also very ugly, but he quickly responds. He points to Mu Yan and says loudly, "You're Yi Liangchen? I advise you not to change the subject." Miss Gu suddenly lost her family, her mind is not clear, and she can't distinguish between reality and Tianguang ruins.
What's so strange about that?
Your bottleneck-breaking pill killed her father, isn't that the truth? Mu Yan looks at him with a smile that isn't a smile. Not bad. You can justify yourself so quickly. It seems that you came prepared.
Why don't you say it?
You made such a big fuss and came to my #1 store to make such a scene. You or the person behind you, what do you want? Fan Jipeng's expression stiffened, but he quickly covered it up. What do you mean by someone? I don't understand what you're talking about. You refined pills with devil chi to harm people. As long as a cultivator has a bit of conscience, they will not stand idly by. If someone like you obtains the Medicine King's inheritance, it will only bring disaster to the Medicine King's name. Mu Yan chuckles. So your goal is the Medicine King's inheritance?
What?
If I'm not worthy of the Medicine King's inheritance, then who is? Fan Jipeng meets Mayan's eyes, and his heart thumps. The person next to him said loudly, "Naturally, it's the current top ranker of the Coiled Dragon role, Immortal Fairy Qingwan. Who else in this world could be like Immortal Fairy Qingwan, who only used 10 days to become the top of the Coiled Dragon list? A person like you who can't even refine a 7th-grade pill, what qualifications do you have to be mentioned in the same breath as Immortal Fairy Qingwan? Speak bro spits, saying so much. Isn't it just that this Jun Qingwan wants to seize the Medicine King's inheritance from Great God Ye's hands? Immortal Fairy? Tui. Using this kind of lowly framing method, and you still have the nerve to call yourself Immortal Fairy? How shameless. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.